Hello everyone. Here we are with another Paradox announcement show. Thank you, Hare Krishna, for the gifted membership. Hello and welcome. Had about 150 people waiting just before we started last time I checked. I think a Paradox announcement always has some big interest, so we're looking at a large audience today. Hello. I'm just trying to lower the background music to the lowest possible thing I can get it to. Hold on. So, welcome everyone. This is the Spudgun official channel's coverage of the Europa Universalis V, 99.9999% sure that's the game, announcement. As you can see in our high production value, I have my own timer in the bottom right, and when that timer goes to 0, that is when the Paradox live stream begins. And they will start announcing and doing whatever kind of show they have in store for us. And we're going to find out about it. In the meantime, we're going to build up to that by discussing what we know so far about the game, the dev diaries, our general hopes, thoughts, feelings about the direction and anything, and also just some random nonsense.
And circled.
So in a minute or two, I'm going to bring in Piechucker and our special guests. But hold on, let me just lower the music of this. Lower music volume. That's it, nice and low. Thank you there. Thank you, I Hate Yankees, for the $5 super chat. So, without further ado, I just have to bring in, well, who else am I going to bring in but this guy? Hello, Piechucker.
Oh my goodness.
My co-host.
Hello, chat.
Are you all right?
Wow. Good audience here, actually. Hello, everyone.
You reacted
It's
as
been
if
ages.
you reacted as if I quite literally threw you onto a stage in front of 10,000 people, and you
Yeah, I've
didn't
been working on my
expect it.
acting. Whoa! Where am I? Oh, hello, everyone.
And you've still got the Halloween PFP from the last time we did a stream.
I know.
What's that all
I'll
about?
keep it now, because it's going to come around again.
Yeah, but I mean, I think we are at exactly the halfway point in the year between, like, we are the furthest distance from both Halloweens.
Yeah,
Like,
no,
what
it's
month is
terrible.
that? I don't know.
We need to stream more. We need to stream more, and then I'll have more profile pictures, maybe.
Yeah, maybe Zenmos will make you one mid-stream. I don't know.
Yeah.
He always does that. So, well, are you looking forward to what's coming up?
Oh, absolutely, and I'm very excited for who else we're bringing in, because it's put me totally at ease. I've been talking to some wonderful gentlemen in the waiting room.
Like, we have special guests. Remember back when we first, like, the first big thing we did like this together was the Victoria 3 announcement. And you remember back then we had special guests, right?
Yes, I do remember.
Like, expert guests, you could even say.
Oh, very special.
Well, it's not like I play EU4 or even EU3. I'm playing the EU3 soundtrack as a background for the stream. But we've outsourced, basically. I've outsourced some experts just from our own community here on the Discord, on Spudgun. A couple of great volunteers have stepped forward. By the way, actually, before we go further, I do have to just show that we have the announcement stream right here. This is it on the stream right now. We are waiting. They have their own timer. It says live in 2 hours on there, which is weird, but that's probably because that's when I first clicked open on that stream and it hasn't updated. Live at 5. That is 55 minutes. Can you see that, Piechucker? Let me just put the timer.
I can see that. Perfect.
What's chat saying? Chat is saying hey. Chat is saying Joe Rogan. Chat is saying rounding error. Slop soon. Yeah, rounding error. So, like, there's nothing to look at here. There's a little trailer for it, which is just some music and the words moving onto the screen. This one important thing, the guests are going to be getting so nervous waiting because I'm keeping them, but one thing about this is that it's definitely a live stream from Paradox here. Some people might think it was a video premiere or something, but this definitely is a live stream. It says live. Some people were confusing it for a video premiere. Like, oh, it could just be like a 1 minute teaser trailer that they were all waiting for here. No, this is going to be some kind of big announcement show, production thing from them, Piechucker, like we've seen before.
Yes, which I'm very excited for. I was actually worried that it was going to be just a wee video, but I'm excited. I'm wondering how much production value we're going to see in this announcement.
For me, that's the most interesting thing. I don't care what they announce about EU5 and all that to an extent. I do care, but I'm more interested in who's going to be there. Johan, the CEO. Is it, what kind of production value have they got? Is it going to be like a comfy little sofa they've got? Is it going to be some wild is it going to be a live show audience?
Live studio audience, yeah, that's what I want. I really want live studio audience.
That's the best. That nothing can ever top that. That's what I'm really looking for.
Multiple desks that you just get faded into the dark. It's hard. It's gonna be so good. I hope that we could. It's how could we ever repeat that? But
just like
maybe we could.
Just pans to the side, and they're just unveiling. Joining us now, Johan Andersson. It just pans to the side of a shadowy, rotund figure just standing at the side, and then the cameras and the lights shine on him.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
But yeah, so that's going on. That's we're ready for that. I've also got all the dev diaries, which we might talk about in the build-up. All of them ready to go because Tinto Talks, like for the past over a year, have been. Yeah, but anyway, so that's there in the background. But for now, we've kept our guests waiting so long that they might even be starting to like form a rebellion against us in the waiting room. I don't know.
I asked them for total professionalism. So I'm hoping they're going to be ready and rearing to go.
Maybe Manward will be there. No, if there's one thing that'll ruin the whole announcement, it's any involvement from. No, I'm joking. But look, let's bring them in. Welcome to our two special EU5 correspondents. Welcome. Hello, first of all, Zorange.
Hello.
And Zazaze.
Hello.
It's a common theme between their two names. They really like the letter Z. Well, anyway, so these are our two special guests. I've picked them randomly off the street, and by that I mean Spudcord. So I put out a call when I was announcing the stream that I'm really hoping for some EU5 experts who have been following Tinto Talks very closely. When it first started last year, yeah, that was very awkward, but this is meant to happen. When the whole Tinto Talks Project Caesar thing started last year, I believe it was February or January, I read the dev diaries initially and I watched videos about it initially, but it kept going and going and there's just so much information. I eventually lost track and stopped reading them, came back now and again, people asked me about it. But I believe these two gentlemen have been paying close attention, have you not?
Yes,
I have, but I don't remember many details.
Nah, it's fine.
Oh my goodness, who are these people?
Just
I know
pick
the
them
Rotter
up.
Strokes though.
We were in the waiting room. We had media training. I was working with you too. You know, we had so many. You guys were going to do jokes. We had an opening monologue planned. What's happening here?
I'm very sorry, man. You think I'm like the Roger Dangerfield or something? I'm not him.
I thought you were going to be Roger Dangerfield. Absolutely.
Well, I'm a Canadian, so it should be Mr. Norm
Is that
MacDonald.
the Canadian version of Rodney Dangerfield? Roger Dangerfield.
Right. Maybe. Maybe Norm MacDonald is more appropriate.
All right. Well, go ahead and do that joke, that story that you were doing in the waiting room. Go ahead.
Story?
I feel so bad for doing this to these two. I mean, even when I brought the special guests and experts in for the Victoria 3 Dev Diary streams, they had at least been on like Victor multiplayer games. They'd at least played games with me on streams. I've just picked these two off the street.
Yeah, we got no education.
No media exposure, no training.
No, no.
And
All
now we're
right,
just
well,
going to
anyway.
quiz them. Where do we...
Yeah.
I don't even know. Well, let's actually think back, right? When exactly did Tinto Talks and all that begin? I mean, it was... We can get the exact date of the first dev diary. Hold up, let me pull it up.
The beginning of time.
February
Feels
28th,
like it.
2024. I have the mega thread
Nice.
pulled up.
I do as well, but it's lagging.
Navy encircled.
I mean, here it is. Yeah, February 28th, leap year, day before leap year 2024. So it started here. And like, people were still very confused about what this was at the time, all the way back then. But what it actually turned out to be is probably the most transparent and open development of a game Paradox has ever done. Certainly, right?
Absolutely, and it'll be interesting because obviously there was a bit of argument at the very, very start on whether this was EU5 or not. How amazing would it be if at this final hour it wasn't EU5?
Well, just in the last few hours or the last day, we've actually had some interesting events going on that have confirmed it. Aside from the fact that the coverage that the trailer is actually happening on the Europa Universalis official channel, we did have some the Lord Lambert incident.
Tell us about this.
How about one of the guests tells us?
Oh yes, I saw it firsthand. He accidentally released a video of him playing Florence, which is a very interesting decision to play Florence, since they at the time Florence had a reputation for being very into, or let's say peculiar activities. I won't say what. But it's very, anyways, I won't go there. But yeah, he played Florence. And yeah.
Let me just take that a step back a bit. It doesn't even matter what country he was playing. Lord Lambert, actually, where do you even start with talking about this? So he accidentally, he didn't publish the video. He made a video and it was unlisted. Unlisted on YouTube, for those who don't know, means that your video is there and people can watch it if they have the link. If they have the link, they can watch it. Private, no one can watch it. Public, everyone can watch it. Unlisted, only the link. And what Lord Lambert did was put that video, unlisted, into a playlist which was public. Don't know the exact playlist. But through that, people found the video and took the link, shared it a bit, and even downloaded it, of course. And that video was an early access video of Lord Lambert playing Europa Universalis V, giving thoughts. It was like an unveiling. And as apart from anything else, that does confirm that it is EU5. And now this is a very unfortunate mistake. I feel bad for Lambert. Like, this is very different from the Vic 3 leak. This is like a very accidental thing. I hope he doesn't have any problems with Paradox.
Yeah, no repercussions for that. Fingers crossed there.
I'm sure there'll be understanding, because it's not something crazy like the Vic 3 leak or anything. But that is some crazy shenanigans going on just as we are about to unveil the game. And it won't matter in like a couple of hours anyway.
They also didn't really show anything that special. Like, everything Lambert showed was pretty much expected.
Right.
I believe it is a testament to how open the development was. That nothing was really a surprise. So it didn't actually feel like a big reveal of anything.
Also, everything looked good. Everything is showed. Except the graphics, maybe. Those can be debated on, like in Big 3. But mostly looked good.
Yeah. I don't want to dwell on that though. The main thing before the Paradox's own official announcement is we're going to talk about what's in the dev diaries. And, well, Lord Lambert's video doesn't show anything different from that anyway, so we can just... I mean, the dev diaries all show screenshots, snippets of the game. An actual gameplay thing will show how they all come together in a sense, but there's nothing new on it. So,
I watched. Speaking of Lambert, I watched a top. I think it was his top 5 or top 10 most anticipated features. It's a video came out with about a month ago. I watched that. It was my preparation for the stream, and there is some really exciting stuff. I mean, the pop system, and talking about how his new the new manpower system works, and international organizations and things. Um, Here, having you guys, the two Z lads on. Do you want to talk about maybe some of the things that you're particularly excited for?
Yes, I'm excited for the better domestic peacetime gameplay when it comes to control, trade, the parliament system, and so on and so forth.
I find building-based countries really interesting because they didn't ever do it before. And sounds like would be very interesting for a modern day mod, for example, where a big company could be building-based. And even in a normal game, like you can play a bank and make
Yeah,
money
or
by
an
giving people
army.
loans.
Yeah, or just an
One army base.
army-based country,
True.
which is pretty crazy. Eh?
You can
yeah,
also
that
be
is,
navy
yeah,
based as pirates.
that sounds really fucking cool. That. Shall we open the
I
dev diary where it first unveiled that? Which one was it? Just to talk about it a bit. Number.
I think 26 selectable nation types.
Let's pull that up. Previously in grand strategy games, playable entities or countries, as we usually refer them, always required you to own land. And I mean, I remember actually reading about this and seeing it at the time, so I already am aware. But anyway, in Project Caesar is the code word they've used. I mean, we have to go back to basics here because we're kind of introducing it. It's the code word that they've called the project, which is like Johan himself in the dev diaries talks about how it's, well, he says it here, you know, our super top secret game with code of Project Caesar. It's like an open secret. Everyone knows it's EU5, but they still have to put on a kind of thingy, kind of cover, because they haven't officially announced it. They are officially announcing it in 41 minutes. Anyway, so 4 categories of playable countries. Settled countries are the normal countries. You got the other 3: army-based countries, extraterritorial countries, and banking countries. So that is it. And I mean, wow, the possibilities are huge with this, aren't they?
Oh, absolutely, and including modding as well. Like to think, I think that's one thing that's really exciting is what they're going to be able to do with the mods this time round for this EU5 compared to EU4, because I saw Lambert talking about it, where he was saying that most of the big overhaul mods for EU4 are having to sort of cannibalize systems from EU4 and make them work. Whereas the way that this has been developed, everything's so open ended that it's going to be much easier to sort of make things in such a way that they're much more to the modder's intention, instead of having to cannibalize certain mechanics. And this is one of the mechanics he was pointing to as being really exciting for modding.
Also in the Tinto Talks, they often talked about just how moddable things are. And like people sometimes ask if something is moddable, and they pretty much always said yes.
Yeah, I do want to make a slight correction. The 3 types, what was it, 3 or 4? The 4 types, but the 3 non-country types are army-based, extraterritorial, and the banking thing I mentioned was a subgroup of extraterritorial, and the actual other main group is a society of pops, which I still, like, what's a society of pops? Do you know that?
Yes,
Okay, you can.
maybe
you
you
can
should go. But it's basically a non-state entity that's supposed to represent like a population that kind of has social organization but can't be like a full country. It's not playable right now, but it's just to represent that kind of society, if you will, society of pops, if you will.
It's not like hunter-gatherers, but it's also not a full country. So a lot of American natives are, for example, Society of Pops, or the Sami
Yeah.
people in Finland.
Yeah, tribes, if you want to use a crude Vic 2 term, uncivs and all that. uncolonized land, even that sort of thing. Unrecognized in Victoria 3 for those of you who love that game.
You can also have multiple of those in one place because pops belong to that country and not like locations.
Oh, well, that's a fascinating distinction. Like, a pop can be anywhere on the map physically, but it's the pop that belongs to the thing. Like,
Yes.
they could be living in Italy, but they're not part of any Italian state.
Sovereign citizens.
Yeah, don't try arresting them.
If you will.
So I actually want to bring it back to more basics about Project Caesar and Tinto Talks. So it was first announced and it was first talked about, and we weren't sure what to expect, but as time went on in the early dev diaries and stuff, we gradually learned more and more like the real ambition and the real scale of this game. I can't remember exactly when it was, it might have even been in the first dev diary or two, but when we learned that it had a pop system, that alone is one of the biggest single factors about this game that just completely distinguishes it from anything else, even in the Europa franchise, definitely EU4, and just it completely puts it in a different category, just having a pop system.
I
We
mean,
learn
it's
more
pretty
and
much
more
the
about
reason
it.
why we're covering it. I mean, it's particularly after hearing some of the things that Johan spoke about sort of in the subsequent release of Victoria 3, and hearing that he's heading up this project and then seeing the pop system. It was something that sort of pricked your ears up and just became very, very exciting all of a sudden. Whereas, sort of EU5 headed between by, Manword or something like that would have probably been not as exciting.
So we're coming to or at least I'm coming to this from the perspective of Victoria 2. We all know what happened with Victoria 3. It went in a direction I didn't like. And then, boom, Johan comes along and makes the sequel to Europa Universalis 4. And he's adding a proper pop simulation. He's adding a proper market simulation in goods. People have talked a lot about the trade system, but that is only just a sub thing related to the fact that there are, dynamic goods with prices changing, an actual market. EU4 just had static goods that weren't really a good in themselves. They were just a little modified, a thing you made money on in a province. But having a real dynamic market just completely distinguishes this game from anything else, and it is more like Victoria 2 than anything else. You can't stress enough just how close to Victoria 2 this is from what we know so far, with EU4 things like religion and that added on it.
Absolutely, and when you look at the buildings as well, in terms of them requiring, there being actual supply and demand systems within the game, and it's very interesting, and there's a lot of Vic 2 stuff, even at a glance.
I'd agree.
Zaza, is there anything you remember from any of the dev diaries related to goods, to the market, or anything that's important or really highlights what we're talking about?
I think Tinto Talks number 10, I'm looking at it. I think the market system, where that's where the goods are traded based on like supply and demand for different prices. That's, I think, something very interesting we could look into. Yeah, I also like how there are inputs into buildings, so buildings aren't just like, you pay money and it does its thing. Now you actually have to have the input, so it's kind of like factories in a way.
Yeah, a bit. If you want to build a building, I think they're still officially calling them buildings, but if you could call them a factory, they do need certain goods to be built. Anything does in the game. It doesn't just have to be an economic building. There's buildings to do with anything, universities, government buildings. They all require, like I remember seeing masonry goods. Zorange, what do you think? Anything interesting about these systems you want to talk about?
One bad thing they said is, for example, the markets only update once a year. I think the reason for this is because there's just so many different markets in the game, because there's not one global market, there's like local markets who trade between each other.
Do you mean
so the good
like
prices only update every year.
Like this screenshot here. So what to do with the market updates on a yearly tick? Exactly.
Only the prices in the market update on a yearly tick, I think. I'm not sure about the provinces, but basically they made it so performance isn't so bad. And they also repeatedly talked about how this doesn't really affect gameplay that much. Not so sure about that one, but we will see.
That's interesting, because a yearly tick might seem like it's very slow, like why would it take so long? But one of the concerns I have about the game, if there are any, like I'm very happy with the direction it's taking, but there's always some concerns, and I hope to get them right, which is like there's way too much going on, there's a lot to manage, like they're introducing so many complex dynamic systems, like you have to manage everything, a lot, too much going on. So having the markets update on a yearly basis gives you a lot more breathing room, maybe.
Also, for the markets, you can just set them on automatic, like in Week 2, and it will normally work, like without issue.
Yeah, that's very important.
The devs also said when they played, most of them put it on automatic, so the system seems to be good for that.
Like, for example, if you wanted to build a building and then it starts buying the goods that it needs to build, if you have all the trade goods on automatic, it'll just buy them. But, you know, since there are so many different markets and stuff, if you want to build a building, does it look to only your market? And if you want to get something from somewhere else, you have to build some kind of trade route.
The trade routes are what is automatic. Like, if your market is missing something, your country wants that, then your country will automatically make a trade route to a different market that has that. Also, markets have a base production of some like base goods, like stone, for example. So you will never run out of building materials in the world.
Yeah.
I should say I'm reading the trade Tinto Talk, and it does say the prices changes every month towards the target price. So
whoops.
Yeah.
Fake
I
news.
think locations only updated every year then, okay.
We'll take this map, for example. There's
You're probably
the
right.
markets. You got the markets here, and in EU4, trade and all that, and trade and markets are rigid. They have nodes, and they're like, you can't really change where a node is and what provinces go into it and feed into it. But the markets in this are completely dynamic, I believe, aren't they?
Yes, they're completely dynamic.
Yes.
You can even create new ones. It just costs money. And like the locations which belong to markets change. The markets themselves can change. Like, everything can change.
Mm-hmm. Another interesting thing is that burgers can trade on their own. So they'll help address the needs, actually. So we got a little bit of the capitalists, if you will.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, for example, this is perhaps a start date map of the trading, the markets. Now, as the game goes on, you can change these. You can start your own market. You can add provinces from elsewhere into one market, move them from another. As the game goes on, this map will probably look very different. Maybe even you might even get border go out of market maps. By how
They
crazy you
did
do
talk
things.
a lot about the algorithm on market maps, so it doesn't create border gore. And the newest market maps look pretty good.
Yeah, this is probably quite an old one from August last year. This is from the trade only dev down number 10. But the thing about Tinto Talks is that they are constantly changing and editing stuff based on feedback. I mean, you've seen it on the forums yourselves. How much do they actually listen to the community and implement feedback?
Quite a lot, actually. I know they have updates. You can see the updates where they release screenshots of various regions in different map modes. And then people will comment, be like, oh, this is wrong, this is my source, so on and so forth. And then they'll update it, and the changes will be there. Same thing with like diplomatic capacity. It was just like I think it was just like maybe you had 4 diplomatic capacity. Every relationship or something like that was one. People asked for it to be dynamic, and they actually did make it dynamic based on how big your country is, how big the other country is. No.
They pretty much seem to listen to every change someone suggests if it's good. And they even release the Tinto maps, where they just show the map of a region and ask people for changes. And because Paradox could never have as many people know about a certain place as the natives. They get a very big amount of good changes. So a lot of the map actually changed towards the better from locals. So it's like the most accurate game ever made, probably.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, a lot of history buffs in the Paradox community, so it helps a little
Yeah.
crowdsourcing.
I can see here that they've done a Tinto maps, for example, on Germany, and then sometime after that they post one with feedback. So let me just see if I can get a direct comparison. Picking Germany of all places.
The best
So
one is
here's
probably Iberia, I think, because they added a lot of provinces there, if I remember correctly.
It's hard to tell what's different based on the feedback, but there probably is a lot, especially down on the minute scale level and pops and stuff. But that's overall the point has gotten across that they really are listening to feedback, especially with the maps, especially when they do Tinto maps with Pavia. I don't know, but like it possibly is the most directly interactive development a Paradox game has ever done with the community on the forums. But it does raise what I've mentioned before as a potential downside, a potential problem, which is that this causes them to get bogged down to an extent. They post a map and then they get there's loads of forum people, they post massive blocks of text about why the fucking Duchy of Puppenfarten needs to have 2 more pops in it. And it just seems like they get bogged down and listen. It could be something where there's too much going on, but they seem to be handling it well.
They did make a point out of only making 1 review per map they show, so they don't get bogged down forever making a review of a review, which is good.
Yeah. Now, I swear I had another topic to mention, but I forgot what it would be. The floor is open.
One
actually,
nice improvement. Oh, okay.
What I actually wanted to do was just thank a couple of super chats. Thank you, Natsteak. And Texan, thank you for the $5, asks, do you think that a mod for an 1836 start date for this game might possibly be a better sequel to Victoria 2 than the Slop of Victoria 3? And my answer is quite possibly yes. Could be. Obviously a mod... I need to get rid of this poll I've had on the chat for ages. End that poll. A mod, it's less guaranteed. Like, we don't know who's going to make the mod. It could take a long time. It could be a bit rough around the edges. But given enough time, you know, a real Victorian era mod for EU5, based on what we know, could actually be phenomenal.
They basically already did half the work. For example, the latest roads in the game are railroads, and factories, the way they work, can easily be modded to go further into the future. I wouldn't be surprised if a mod comes out in only a few weeks.
It could be the case that behind the scenes Paradox have already brought in modders to do early mods, which actually happened with Victoria 3. They brought in some modders from who had done Victoria 2 mods, actually, in some cases, and brought them into an early modding program. So if they do that again with Europa Universalis V, we could already see mods released on day 1, which in the case of Victoria 3, who cares? The mods weren't good because the game wasn't good. But in this, we could be seeing some crazy things happening on day 1.
Yeah, Divergence of Darkness. EU5 would be pretty crazy.
I was thinking about that.
No, that's a divergence from Victoria. First, they need to do Victoria as the mod, right? They need to diverge from that.
Antonyms mod.
Thank you for the 5 gifted memberships, Never. And scrolling back up to the dev diaries. And we are almost halfway there, 24 minutes to go. Time passes quickly when you're trying to cram in all the information possible.
I wonder, a quick question I have is, do we have any information on when it might, because obviously the announcement is in 25 minutes, so we'll probably find out then, but how far away could the release date be? Because if Lambert's already playing it, it shouldn't be too far away.
Looking at everything they've shown so far, I would guess it's probably this summer or this autumn, because honestly, the game is more finished than some things they release. Like the new Stellaris DLC, this game is probably more finished than that.
Yeah, I agree. Probably this fall.
Yeah, I agree that it looks very likely to have a release this year. When they announced Victoria 3 in 2021, it came out eventually a year and a half later. But they hadn't. It wasn't at the point where there was gameplay. The dev diaries they started doing from the announcement were early, very early. Every screenshot came with like early access. Don't believe this, but this game looks very far on in development, and as you can see, or as we're going to see, if Lambert didn't leak it, people are playing it. They've got content creators in. I'm not one of them. Just to fucking clarify that. But they've got content creators in playing it and reviewing it. So yeah, autumn, or if they're feeling very bold, summer. That's what I'm thinking.
Another thing I wanted to draw attention to as well is that the multiplayer. I'm much more excited for than I've played some EU4 multiplayer, and I've never. Obviously, for some people, it's their bread and butter, and they absolutely love it. And fair play to them. I'm not dissing them, but just having Victoria 2 multiplayer being much more representative of what's actually happening in terms of the pop system, in terms of the country. If you're getting wrecked and sort of inseeging, then that's going to be reflected in your pops and the state of your country, instead of having 1.3 billion manpower, by stacking modifiers over and over and over again. I'm very excited to see what the multiplayer is going to be like in EU5. And see how different it is going to be from EU4, because I think that probably is going to be one of the most significant differences in sort of the philosophy of what that's going to play out like.
I think it'll be very interesting. I think not just the traditional states, but people playing things like banking families or foreign trading companies, like or the like, or actually on Japan, actually. They're representing a lot of the daimyos actually as these non-state playable governments, whatever they're called. I forget what they're called.
Building-based countries.
Yeah, building-based countries actually. So that'll be fun.
It sounds crazy. I mean, you can even have the possibility of a multiplayer game where everyone just plays as a bank and they try and compete with each other. It's crazy.
In Japan, there's so many building-based countries that some locations have more than one, actually.
I mean, the content creators who have played it might know now, but with all this stuff going on, building-based countries, buildings themselves, provinces, the amount of locations, like on the map, there's a subdivision of provinces into locations, so there's even more stuff. I hope the performance is okay. I hope the performance of the game doesn't fucking suffer from all this stuff. But there's no way of knowing that yet.
That was the one concern I had with the game, because they showed so many things, and especially dividing the game into hours instead of days was pretty concerning. But in Lambert's video, he said the performance wasn't great, but also not that bad, which is kind of expected from new Paradox games, so nothing really out of the ordinary. Also, the game isn't releasing yet, probably, so we'll probably get better.
Yeah, it's quite hopeful, because if the game is this far along in development and there's still many months until they actually release it, that's a lot of time that they can optimize it and improve the performance before release. It's quite hopeful on that front. We are, of course, basing that on a bit of the spoiler from Lambert's leak, but it's looking okay for that. Looking pretty good. Lord Lambert, who is, by the way, in chat, shout out.
He is in chat now, yeah.
He did a boo-boo. He made a mistake. But it's an innocent accident. And these things happen. And I really hope, we said this at the start, but I really hope it doesn't damage anything with Paradox. I'm sure there'll be understanding and it's all good.
Well, to say something positive, I mean, I wouldn't know anything about EU5 at all without Lord Lambert. Like, other YouTubers are available, but I see them in my feed and I don't click on them. I click on Lord Lambert.
Yeah.
So, I'm hugely appreciative, and I think probably a lot of us are, that he's made. He's dredged through all this sea of information to make things that are accessible, and you don't have to spend you don't have to get a dissertation to figure out what the fuck's going on.
He's been grinding very good update videos about every dev diary and some overviews, like top 20 features video recently. Like, great stuff.
Absolutely.
Of course, I think, I don't even want to talk about the other content creators arguing with you, and because every time I search up EU5, I do see certain content creators putting out the soy face and the clickbait and like, oh my god, they're doing this with EU5 and it's a big soy
Slop.
face and an arrow. But nothing against that. Like, they do that, all those content creators, it's great. But, how about we talk about the fucking war system?
That's
Oh, that's your MO.
Yeah, because
Definitely.
people who don't know about EU5 yet, I've seen in comments, people are still saying, it's EU5. Well, they're just going to remove the war system, aren't they? Well, if you're not in the know, based on Paradox's recent track record of releases, you might think that, but this couldn't be anything further from the truth of what's going on here. Where's the best dev diary to start?
There's one called
I
Armies
would
in
say
Combat
Armies in
22.
Combat.
Sorry, you both spoke at the same time. Which
22.
is
22.
that's a flaw on the format I've created on my stream, by the way. It's my fault. So this one this is like old as well. Old news here, 24th of July 2024. But basically, well, if someone could give this an overview, just a very quick overview of how the war works here.
I mean, it's basically how it works in games like EO4 or VIC2, where you have individual regiments on the map that you combine together to form one army, and you march that across the map. But they combine it with some elements from Imperator. I didn't play that game,
Yep.
so I don't know exactly. But for example, you have a supply now and supply wagons. But you also have normal stuff like infantry and cavalry and artillery. And the battles, they work like in EO4, where you have dice rolls and it depends on terrain. But basically, good news, it's not VIC3.
Exactly. I mean, you just
Yes.
summarized the war system of any Paradox game other than Victoria 3. Like, this is back to normal right here. It's back to normal at the very least as a baseline. There might be other fancy things and interesting things on top of that, but the basics of it's just a normal Paradox war system. There's nothing to worry about there.
Yep. There's also a levy system. So in the early game, you'll be doing a lot of that. So that's very much like Imperator Rome. But then there's also greater variety of units. So you have the basic infantry, cavalry, and like artillery stuff. But then there's some more specialty ones depending on your tag.
Yeah, and that's something they've toyed a bit with in EU4 as well. Different unique countries having unique special units. That came in through DLC. That's one place where they're possibly actually building off of EU4, having that sort of thing in. I remember Manchurian cavalry, banner cavalry, or some shite like that.
I'll say this too, actually. I don't know which one, but if you actually go into like the stuff on the units, the stats on units are much more in depth. Like in EU4, it's just like you got your shock pits, your fire pips, and then morale. Here you have a lot of things like supply consumption, like I think maneuver, stuff like that. So it's more in depth too.
Each unit has like 20 different modifiers it has. And they showed many flavor posts for different countries. And basically every country they showed had their own units. They had so many numbers that I couldn't compare them. But basically they all the DLC units from EO4 they have in the base game here.
That's super cool. That's a really cool change.
Also,
okay, you first.
all right. Mercenaries are changed, so you do buy them, but it's based on a contract. You make a contract with them, and funnily enough, you could actually outbid another state. So there's like an army. You can bribe them. You can bribe that mercenary group to your side.
Yeah,
You
that's
have enough
super cool.
money.
Being able to buy out your enemies' mercenaries is pretty awesome.
You can also be a building-based country and sell mercenaries to others. Or a bank, for example, can also buy mercenaries. So you can have like completely crazy mercenary chains and mercenaries fighting against each other.
I mean, this shit has to be. It sounds like wild and crazy. It needs to be balanced. Like this shit, they've got to be very careful that it doesn't get out of control and crazy, and people are just buying mercenaries from each other mid-war all the time, like spamming loans and then buying the enemy's mercenary. Like it's got to be balanced, but I'm sure it'll happen eventually, especially
Yeah,
after multiplayer.
there's
People get their hands on
there's
it.
no way it's going to be balanced at all for a very long time.
I have
Also-
a concern. Go
Loans
ahead.
are heavy. They're like 9% interest.
Right.
Also, one impressive thing about the armies that Lord Lambert showed is that, like, when you have cavalry and infantry in the units, it shows both on the map, and depending on how much you have, it shows like different on the map. So they even had the time to put different graphics like that in the game. And he said there's like each unit can have 30 different graphics.
Wow.
If I could ask a question of our experts, probably my least favorite system from EU4 is the estate system. And it's one that when I play, or have played EU4, I haven't played in quite a while. But when I have played, I haven't touched it at all. I've never enjoyed it. You can, a lot of people just look up, or how do I set them up at the start of the game, and they don't really even touch them after that. What's the estate system looking like for EU5 according to the diaries and what we've seen?
So far, it is similar to EU4, but it has some changes. I don't remember the exact changes, but I think, for example, it takes time to give them stuff, and it takes time to take away stuff from them. Also, they sometimes demand things, and every country has a parliament now. So they demand things in the parliament, for example. So estates aren't just they are abstracted anymore. You actually interact with them, and they do actually also do stuff on the map. Like nobles can build castles that give them more estate power. So the game is also much more realistic in that way.
I suppose as well, if the modifiers aren't abstracted and they're applying to actual pops, it could be more interesting, because I think that's something that was so uninteresting about the estate mechanics in EU4, is that it's just plus 20% manpower, minus 5% this. It's really busy work.
So far, it looks like a lot of the estates, the things you give the estates, actually things based on real life and no longer just abstracted bullshit that every country gets. And they give you like England gets special things, France gets special things, but they're usually small bonuses. So the states matter way less in EU4 in that regard. So overall, good changes.
Yes.
To bring it back to the war system briefly, just to make one last point on that, I have a concern. So in Victoria 2, and this is just for the niche multiplayer diehards, but in Victoria 2, one of the best things about the war and fighting each other is that the types of units each side has are the same. You have infantry, cavalry, artillery for the most part. And it's really down to some things, but one of the things it's down to is micromanagement. In this game, with all the different amounts of units, especially flavoursome, unique units of countries, modifiers within them, it could get a bit. The multiplayer fighting might suffer from that in terms of it's all down to these random modifiers and what special units. I'm not explaining this very well. If I ever make a video, I'll fucking work out how to word this properly. But the best thing about Vic 2's warfare is that it's kind of symmetrical, so a lot of it's down to your micromanagement. Whereas in this, and in EU4 as well, it's really just about shoving all your units into one big battle and seeing who has the better modifiers. That's why I don't like EU4 warfare and multiplayer and combat that much. But we'll have to see how it goes with this.
Yeah, in terms of the war and the combat mechanics, are we seeing sort of doom stacks, or are we seeing something different?
When they showed flavor for countries, they still showed a bunch of modifiers like for EU4, but basically all the numbers were way smaller. So there's less power creep. Also, to avoid like doom stacks in late game EO4, I mean, maybe not doom stacks, but having 10 gazillion stacks everywhere, they made it so as the game progresses, each unit actually can have more people in it. So at the end of the game, you don't have way more armies at the start, your armies are just bigger. Which is also more close to history. But I think part of the reason why in EO4 you get such insane numbers because of the busted death system, which won't be here this time because it's based on population. So the wars will probably be much more realistic and grounded in reality.
Good.
I think also the different varieties of units and the different modifiers they have, I think creates a better strategic game where it's not just about having the most amount of people, it's also about the right mix of units too. So
one interesting thing they also showed for defensive countries is that if your army is standing on a plateau and your enemy is standing in a valley, they can't see you. The same if you're in a very dense forest, the enemy can't see you. So you could do asymmetrical warfare. But only in some circumstances, like for Russia. Since they
I
have so
think
much
that
forest.
is cool. You can hide in forests and ambush people. That's super cool.
Might
as
get
a,
very annoying with the AI though if they just hide in the forest and attack you out of nowhere.
Go ahead, Zazu.
I was gonna say, as a general rule, I think they're focusing more on simulation than just modifier stacking. So, for example, for trade, usually in EU4 you had like provinces with modifiers that were like this or that bonus to trade something another or whatever, just based on its geography. But now it's actually embedded in the actual terrain. So there's certain locations with like deep ports and different levels of ports. So they want to make it so the simulation of like important places are based on its climate and what it produces and how deep its ports are, like its bays or whatever.
Sorry,
One
hold
thing
that
about
thought.
that system.
Oh, actually, finish that thought, Orange. Go ahead.
Okay. One thing about our system is that Paradox decided that the best place in the entire universe is apparently Lisbon, Portugal. Because it has a great port, farmland, Mediterranean climate, and is flat.
Okay, on that note, thank you to all the people in Lisbon. The Paradox stream has updated and they have their own further timer going on and there's actual background music. I don't know how they've done this. Are they live now and they've done this, or is this still part of like a pre-live thing? I don't know. But they have their own timer. Is this timer more accurate than mine? I don't think so, because it is currently 6 minutes to the hour. It's 54 and they're showing 7 minutes and 40 seconds. My timer is more accurate. Sorry, we're going to have to veer away from talking about the mechanics of the game now and give what Piechucker and I are good at, which is analysis of what the fuck Paradox's production value and all their stuff is.
Yeah.
Also, their chat is crazy. How many people are there? Like, there's fucking
13,000.
13,000. How many do I have?
We've got about 1,000.
Whoa! Whoa! We've got 1,000. Jesus. You wouldn't know it by looking at my chat. Slow as fuck. Get some hype in there, chat. See, by judging by my chat from the street, look, that's more like. Look how they can talk if they really.
There we go.
Look how they can talk if they really want to. Look at all these lurkers coming in. Like, by the chat I've had on the stream so far, I wouldn't have thought we had that many viewers. I would have thought, 100, 200. There we go. That's more like it. If you actually want a message to get through to me, give it in a super chat. So, like, we're about 5 minutes away. We're in the last thingies. There really isn't any time to go into any more in-depth stuff, but let's go through the panel. Zorange, what are you most looking forward to and your biggest hopes for this game?
I'm most looking forward to the peacetime gameplay, because what I enjoy most about Vic 2 is just seeing the country grow and become less of a shithole. And in EU5 it looks like you can do that even better, because the game is even more in detail and you have like people and can build roads and build factories. And literacy is also back in the game.
Yeah, of course.
So I'm really looking forward to that.
Literacy. It is, like I say earlier, it is so much like Victoria 2. People are saying it's like the real Victoria 4. Literacy's in the game. Zazaze, what do you think? Same question to you.
Same thing, funnily enough. Peacetime gameplay. Why I enjoyed playing Imperator Rome over EU4 recently is due to a better gameplay loop in the peacetime. I think the colonization, the trade, I think diplomacy, that will be all very interesting. So, and of course the modding too.
Yeah, cool. Piechucker, yourself. Oh my god, sorry, I just felt like we had an earthquake there. The UI on the Paradox stream just slightly shook a bit. Whoa.
Yeah, the colour
Let me
shifted.
just get my bearing back. Carry on, sorry.
Probably the thing I'm most excited for is the new manpower mechanics. You know, not seeing sort of 1.7 billion manpower, and seeing sort of these wars really reflect in your pop count. Like we're seeing in the new Grand Columbia series. You got to be very, very particular about how you're using your pops, your soldier pops, because it's going to have a real impact on what you're able to do later. And so yeah, I'm probably most excited for that, seeing how pops are affected by the actual warfare.
Yeah, having an actual pop system just completely eliminates the problem of having the manpower pool in EU4. Like, just boom, just an instant improvement. And what
To go.
well, I have to thank all these people who are generously supporting the channel. Thank you, Liquid, for 5 gifted memberships. Thank you, Ansetin, for 10. Hare Krishna, thank you for the 99-cent super chat. And thank you, Ecomostral, for the €5. Hopefully they have ways to stop the snowballing that happens. I think there are. I mean, I can't point to specifics now. We don't really have time. But I've read and I've heard that there are things that do that. You've got diseases. You've got, like, not admin capacity, but there are things that impact how closely you control land based on the distance from your capital. I think there are things that prevent snowballing in the game, but we'll see. A lot of it really does come down to seeing eventually when gameplay happens. And Sharon, thank you for $2 Canadian. They're making the game very moddable, hopefully. They keep saying that, and I believe they will follow through on it.
Navy and Circle.
About the snowballing, they did one time say that some people in the dev team had trouble getting historical Russia to even happen.
Navy
which either means they have a
and
skill issue or
Circle.
the game is actually harder to snowball in.
Very good. It's about finding the right balance, though, because if you've played extremely well, you deserve the snowball to an extent, and you shouldn't be randomly fucked over by stuff unfairly. But it's always a balance to strike.
I think the control also is very big in stopping snowball, because you might have a bunch of land, but if you have zero control, that land is completely useless. And also, they made it so land you have less control in reduces score takes to it reduces the war score cost to take in wars. So basically, if you're really big, you can fall much faster.
Yeah, and I think having a proper economic and market and goods simulation might mean that you can expand and you can blob, but if you haven't set up your country properly and you haven't got a good economy behind you, you might fall apart. I like the idea of that. That could happen in Victoria 2, for example, even in 3, and could happen here. We are so close to this.
Yeah, about time to lock in, eh?
And to the 2 guests, I know this has been very awkward and difficult. You might have done something like this before. You are free to, like, go. We've had the in-depth bit. I mean, me and Piechucker are seasoned experts at reacting to this stuff. But you can stay or go. It's completely up to you. But thank you so much for your insight we had there in the past hour. We are about to start here. Ooh. Up to you. 1 minute, 14 seconds. I mean, because this is so similar to Vic, I'm more interested in this than I would have been if it was just a basic EU4 sequel. If it was just something expected. EU5, oh, it's kind of similar to EU4, which is kind of impossible, but this is the final countdown. I'm putting the volume up.
You've forced such
Oh my
a
goodness.
Frankenstein monster, you can't really make a sequel to it.
Yeah, EU4 is bloated with so many features. They've been DLC'd up the wazoo for like 14 years, not that long. There's nothing more you can add. Like taking the franchise in a completely different direction makes sense because there's nothing more you can do to EU4. So yeah,
You can only hurt it more.
Yeah.
I believe when they added in development, I always disliked that feature because you just spam a
Navy
bunch of mana
and
points and somehow
circle.
turn your backwards village into a metropolis. Yeah, that's when I think the system was at its end and showing its age.
4,
Oh,
3,
5.
2. Where are you? You're lagging behind in New Zealand. The following broadcast is rated 12. Avert your eyes, chat. Oh my
Hello
god.
everyone, I'm
It's
Johan
Johan.
Andersson. I'm the studio manager of Paradox Tinto and the creative lead for Project Caesar. We've been teasing you guys about this project for over a year now, and now it's finally time to reveal what this is all about.
Very nice. Cinematic. High production value. High production value.
Alright.
It's
Here we
just more
go.
production value than some of their games.
Trailer.
With each stroke of the brush, the landscape unfolds. And with every gesture, a path is carved through history. Ambition, once ignited, pushes forward and can never be tamed. With every line, a new horizon. Drawn from the wells of ancient civilizations, the landscape changes, but the drive remains.
Yes. War.
Painting with the sharp reds of revolution and the black ash of scorched battlefields. Legacy is forged of the chosen.
I mean, what can you really say? It's just a decent trailer. It's a good trailer.
That's good, yeah.
Good
With the final
graphics.
stroke,
Voiceover.
fire.
Oh, there it is.
Never before has the canvas stretched so far.
Be gone.
Europa Universalis V. Be ambitious.
That sums up their development. The game is ambitious. That's kind of accurate.
Just wanted to say that their most ambitious game yet.
Definitely, actually, yeah.
Oh, here comes the LARP.
This is
love
where
that.
it really begins. This is
Yeah, strap
this is
the fuck
it.
in.
We're watching Paradox, people. This is it. Who is this?
Yo, it's finally happening. How does it feel?
I don't have words
Yeah,
to
we can tell.
describe how excited I am about this. This is gonna be so good.
So I'm an EU4 player with 5,000 hours.
Is that a content
How
creator
different
that
is
someone
of an
knows,
experience
or
is this gonna be?
something?
Yes, it is. It's Lave.
It's
Ah.
not like playing a new expansion.
Shows
There's
how out of the loop I
We've
am.
tried to change mechanics at every single place. Everything's going to be new. I would say throw away the 5,000 hours, but it's still going to be some things.
Yeah.
So you and the
Good
team have
stuff.
been working on this for a very long time. How happy have you been with progress?
Does this bar go to 11?
It can if you want.
Yeah, well,
So very happy.
yeah, I'm super happy. It's like my team is among the best people I've ever worked with. They're been recruiting people a lot from the community and with people with a lot of experience to be so great. And the amount of history and the amount of mechanics and everything we got into the game is beyond what I dreamed of when we started.
Do you have like a single word in mind to describe the idea behind what you're trying to achieve?
Ambitious, is that a good word to
Ambitious
use?
is a very good use.
Yeah, I would just describe the game as we set out very ambitious, and it's a game where you can do pretty much everything. in the game.
Everything.
Yeah,
So it doesn't matter how I want to play it, there's something for me to do.
yeah. It's like if you want to play a Hanseatic trader nation, you can do that, just focusing on trade. Or if you want to relive the Ottoman Empire's expansion as a militaristic country, you can do that. Or if you just want to sit and play as your small country somewhere and just get through history, you can do that.
So the world itself is something that's alive.
Where are
Yeah,
they,
I
by
think
the way?
that's the best description of the game. We're trying to feel like
Good question.
But we could just sit here and watch each other.
It's like a
But,
Jane,
it should
Jane
feel
Austen
like a
novel.
game. It should feel like you're actually
I mean,
part
there's
of
got to be a reason to watch the
playing
Spudgun trailer rather than just
from
watching them. We've got to
history
talk
of
over it.
game.
We've got to say something.
And
Where
how
are they?
important would you say the community
chat
has
know?
been to the development of this game?
Somewhere in Sweden.
I don't think there's word that can describe how important they are, because part of my team is built from the community. We have been talking for over a year in various ways, like asking for feedback about the game. Because if there's one thing these 30 years have taught me, is that the community is vital for making a good game. You can't just sit on your own and code something.
Ugh.
Well, Johan, I think I'm ready. Tell me everything there is to know.
How much time do you have?
It's 5,000 hours in EU4. I can spend a little more.
Yeah, well, I brought a bunch of developers that are more knowledgeable about the details of the game than I am, and they're in the castle up here ahead.
Well, let's go find them.
Is this going to be a real show, or are they like pre-recorded the whole thing? That's what I'm on. I think there's going to be a real show to this.
I wonder what plateau that is. Ooh.
They're gonna go live in a studio thing in the castle from here. This is like a cinematic leading up to it. Surely, that's what I'm thinking.
Slop.
Fit them behind the pillar.
Here will take care of your sword for you.
Thank you. So what happens now? Where should I go?
Well, my journey here is over, but in this
Rip,
castle,
Rip,
there's
Johan, no!
developers that will give you all the
Rip,
information
Johan.
you need.
He's gonna go the way of Sid Meier.
To
No.
take this to Eric. He will know what to do with it.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and good luck on your journey.
And then
Is that
he
guy still
walked
behind the
away.
pillar?
Johan then walked away, never to be seen again.
My work is done, and then
This
lives.
castle was built in 1654. This was just a remote slice of land, a blank canvas. The man who built this castle had been in dozens of them before, but he thought to himself, I can build one even better. You've loved and you've lived Europa Universalis, but Paradox have thought to themselves,
I think that's
"We can
Gustavus
build
Adolphus
one
in the
even
background.
bigger and even better." Today,
In the
You
painting.
can tell the difference between like the content creator, the entertainer, the performer, and Johan, who's just a games developer, right? In terms of like the public speaking and the performance and all that. Like, this guy could be doing a real documentary. Lathe.
Journey is Dave. Hi, Dave.
This looks like a documentary.
Welcome to the workshop.
It's a great workshop. So this room feels like a pretty good metaphor for the start of game development. How do you even begin with a project as ambitious as Europa Universalis V?
Well, we started 5 years ago by building a new studio in Spain.
Because it's one there.
Specifically to make the project. So we hired modders, we hired super fans, we hired the best developers from around the world, specifically to make this project.
So once you've assembled this great team, where do you go from that? What's your first starting point?
It starts with a vision. And that vision came from Johan, and it was, I want to make the grandest strategy game. That includes everything from having, from being the most immersive game we could possibly make, having a living world where everything feels like it's impacting something else.
So you've taken all the buzzwords, you've gone historically accurate, dynamism, you want immersion. How do you take those ideas and put them into a game?
That's a tricky question. Well, one of the things you start with is making a concept.
I feel like he's asking the same
so
question
we can
4
decide
times
how
there.
everything looks and feels.
What's the first mechanic that comes
He
to
sounds
mind
like
when you
he's not
start?
prepared to answer, even though this is all pre-recorded and scripted.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Groups of people.
No,
So
I don't want to be too
It's like
harsh on
60
them.
minutes, eh?
people of the same culture and religion band together into a single unit. And
Reminds me
it
of
can be
us,
anything
man.
from just one person to a million
Yeah.
people. One of these.
Except you
units.
actually
Single
weren't prepared.
person to multiple millions and millions. So we're simulating hundreds of millions at the start of the game.
We're simulating every person who was alive in 1337.
That's a lot of people.
Yes.
So the population system is tied into everything that you do. How do I get more of them?
It's a
With food
strange
production,
question.
So the more food
That's
you
a very
produce, the
odd
more
question.
surplus
Like,
you
Yeah.
how do you make more pops? How do you, like, he's basically asking him, how do you make babies?
Did you read the dev diaries?
You're going to lose a lot of pops.
Yeah,
So we're modeling individuals being born,
birds and the
working,
bees.
dying. I'm assuming they're also going to stratify throughout society. What does that look like?
Yeah, so each pop has a type, a sort of social class, which could be, of course, nobility, burghers, peasants. They all have different jobs.
Oh
depending
my
on
God.
Which class they're in, and they also belong to different estates in your government.
So what's an estate? What do they do?
An estate is a group of pops who have a political agenda. Now, most countries have the nobility, burghers, clergy, and peasants. And basically, they all have their own privileges that you give them and can take away from them. You can also sort them by social class. So, for example, clergymen are in a different group from nobility.
And that would be the estate system.
It ties into the estate system, yes.
How does the estate system work?
So your pops organize into estates which have their
Well,
own
it's,
agenda. They
they're
have
really
their own
going over
agenda
some
for how they want to run the
basic kind of stuff, and it's
The nobility
Yes,
decides
grinding to a
different
brutal
things
halt.
they
Also,
do.
this is the art director.
It depends.
well, yeah. Why is he throwing all this at the art director in a workshop?
Build their own fortifications or
Get out your easel, show us some of the artwork. You know, that's what he should be asking.
So regardless of if I want it, if I've given them that privilege, they're going to go and do it. And I'm assuming that if their agendas and my agenda line up, that's
Much
gonna benefit
needed
quite
cut.
nicely.
but they
Fantastic.
don't always line up.
All right. Well, that
Possible
starts
one,
Are
Sure.
you
Talking
ahead of
to
me,
Amo.
or am I ahead of you? But now they're cutting. The music's back. They've got that awkwardness out of the way.
What is a privilege? You mentioned nobility.
Oh, that was just a tiny cut, but they're back to the same.
So you could,
Atmospheric,
for example, give your
panorama
players
of the
control over
place.
the coinage.
Wait a minute. Johan walked away, and then they announced that he is the new pope. Have they
This
found
new
a pope
being chosen.
IRL?
Meanwhile,
They've elected Johan as the pope. Wow.
Privilege.
Maybe you want to pass something through Parliament, and the nobility say, "We'll only let that if you give us."
why are we
this
just
privilege."
constantly talking about
If the
estates with
inverse
the art
happens, their
director in this
agenda doesn't
room?
align with me, I need to either bring them under control or pacify them.
Yes, if you're feeling confident, you can remove privileges from an estate. But
How long
you
are they gonna be
need to
talking
sure
about
that you're
this?
in a good
This is
position to do
fucking
it.
It's
insane.
constant balance. I need to make sure that they're happy, but not too powerful that they can take me out.
Yes, exactly.
They're clearly trying to target people who've never heard about these
Do
games.
Everything correctly.
You should just start slowly stepping backwards.
If you have a happy populace, happy
His ass does
estates,
not want to be here.
you have a prosperous nation, and that will allow you to go from this
Oh,
to this.
The where? Oh,
Well, I've done quite well for myself.
Well done.
Thank you very much.
Magic.
now we're going to bring in the head cook of Paradox Tinto to talk about the trade system.
37. That's 500 years of history. A lot happens in that time period. Talk me through how the game changes to reflect the changes in history.
So we've divided the era into 6 different ages, and inside those ages we have different institutions, so that every slice of 100 years or so feels different from the previous one or the next one. Is much more about medieval fiefdoms and
Why,
this sort of old order.
Why is only
But
one
by
of them
the end
LARPing?
of the game,
Why
you
not
have
everyone?
The Industrial Revolution, prices of coal go up.
Didn't have the
people are
budget.
using more modern technology.
Well, let's talk
They
technology.
blew the
How does the
budget
system
Modern technologies
work?
you're
on
speaking
just
This is
renting
brutal.
out
How
the
does the
ancient
technology
castle
system in
they're
the
in.
game work?
So once you've embraced an institution, that unlocks a brand new technology tree.
Are they describing
Some pop-up.
EU4?
And
Okay,
players
that's
can
not
choose to go
EU4.
down that list and unlock specific things from
It's
that.
different, bit
You
different.
mentioned institutions. What exactly
yeah,
are
there's
they?
a tech tree.
So an institution is an idea that spreads. For example, it could be the quest for the new world, which changes the way that you can explore.
I like the break music.
So exploration was a big thing during this era. I'm assuming that's also modeled in the game.
Yes.
How does that work?
So once
Exploration?
you reach the age of discovery, you might want to start looking over the oceans and to decide to colonize distant lands.
So colonization then, how does that work?
So any country can colonize, and it's a lot easier if you have Quest for the New World institution embraced. But colonization essentially allows you to take unclaimed territory and absorb it into your empire.
So any country can colonize. I don't have to be a specific nation to colonize.
Exactly, exactly.
How different does gameplay vary from place to place?
The games vary quite a lot depending on which country you choose.
This is fucking bizarre.
You're impacted so much by your.
It's just
your
Paradox
setup,
announcements at their
pops you
best.
I know.
what terrain
They're
you have,
uncanniest
and
and
what
just,
neighbors
I
you
love
have.
it. I live for
Every
this.
playthrough is going to be different if you're
So
playing
about the
with
colonization,
France
you can actually
against
colonize
Flanders.
another
But I'm not
completely
locked
normal
in.
country
I
as
can-
long
I
as
can
you're
take
way stronger
start
than
a
them.
position in France and go wherever I want with it. I could colonize, I could fight, I could focus on the economy, I could focus on trade.
Exactly. It's not railroaded. You can choose which path you want. So you can take France as a big trading nation, or you could just conquer your neighbors.
So the big takeaway is that it is a living world.
Exactly.
I'm receiving
In order to
breaking
achieve
news
what
that
you're
there
talking
is
about, to
actually a
meet
new
any of the
pope.
scenarios
Yeah,
we've gone
there
through,
is a new
I have to
pope.
take care of my population, right?
They planned this.
Exactly. Your population influences every decision you take. Your population is your economy, and your economy is your population. So you have to look after them if you want to lead your country to wealth.
Well, here's to wealth.
To wealth.
Where are we going next? This is going to be great. Where are they cutting?
Every game needs a solid framework, and EU5 will have just that. The population mechanic will be at the heart of everything that you do, and if you manage it carefully, you will be rewarded with a prosperous realm. Hundreds of millions of people are going to be simulated
This is
in a
very
fully dynamic living
BBC
world.
History
What
Channel
does that actually mean?
English coded.
Let's go to the library
Yeah.
Just
now.
that.
Should have got Philomena Kunk on this. That'd be hilarious.
Yes.
Lev is from Tunisia, though.
Roger!
This is a library.
That's going to complicate the interview.
Fair enough.
Can you tell me about the living world?
Living world means that things don't come out of nothing.
Content designer.
The population that live in the locations which produce the goods by working in the resource gathering operations, or RGO for short. And then those goods are used in other buildings.
What are those? How do I build them? How do I use them?
Buildings are in locations, and there are many types of buildings that all of them do different things. But in general, they will take resources to maintain and to build, and some of them will produce other types of goods. And they will employ the population to do that.
What would I do with those goods?
All the goods produced, both raw resources...
Someone in chat is saying 5k hours in EU4, how do I build? To be fair, he doesn't know because this is a Victoria 2 builds factory system. He would have no idea. He'd be like, how do I build a church to get my taxes up? No, this is like real stuff. This is building factories.
Imagine you're playing against England, for example. You have a market center in London, and that would attract the locations around it to the London market. Locations will be pooled towards one market or another, depending on the conditions, and all the locations belonging to a market will get the resources from that market.
So if another market has something that I don't have, I can trade for it?
Yes, exactly. If you need some good in your market that you don't have access to, you'll have to make a trade deal between any two markets that you have access to.
Let's say a location is in the market of Scandinavia, let's call it. Is that permanent, or can they shift?
No, markets are completely dynamic. Every location will belong to a market or another market depending on different factors, and markets themselves can be created and destroyed completely freely. Well, freely, they have a cost.
So I, as a player, can both create and destroy markets
Yes,
under
you
my
can-
control.
Yes, you can create your own market if you are, for example, if you are playing in Sweden and you don't have a market because you're trading in the market of Lübeck, for example, and you see it more beneficial for you to have a market in Stockholm, you can create a market in Stockholm.
So in this Stockholm market, let's say I wanted something like legumes. How could I get it if it wasn't already in my market?
If you want some good that's not in your market, then you'll have to make a trade deal. A country can make a trade deal between any two markets that they have access to, and that would move the goods from the stockpile of
So they're gonna
that
talk about
market
every
to
feature that's
the
gonna take
market
forever.
You're moving.
How many
So in
cameras have they
Sweden, I
got?
can have Danish provinces in my location.
Yes, the goods
It's a full
produced
production,
in
my guy.
the Danish locations will be used in your market.
So if I'm buying
Four
goods
cameras
and
at
selling
least.
goods,
It's at least
what
three.
determines the price of those goods?
Trade deals have a cost based on the distance between the markets and also depending on the price of the specific good. Each good have a base price And also,
So they're just
will be
explaining
modified
in person
depending on
basic features and
required
mechanics about the
I
game.
know, it's really weird.
What do we do
Strange
here?
choice.
So if it's
Particularly because it's such high production value.
in the market,
Also, that
it
frame's
will
crooked.
keep. And if it's not that abundant or
You think they would have done some
scarce,
scripting?
it will be expensive.
How do I get the money to then buy goods at a loss?
It
I'm just
seems like they
trying to-
did it like scripted, unscripted on purpose.
I'm trying to think
Make it
of
more
who this,
approachable, I guess.
who does this appeal, who's this meant to appeal to? Who's the target audience? Like, most of us watching kind of have an interest and know about the game and stuff
Yeah.
already. It's for new people who haven't heard of it, but what new people are watching? I guess some people watching the stream wouldn't know.
There's a lot of repeat questions and covering the same ground as well. So it must be because they have to keep setting up all the cameras again. Just keep asking the same question over and over again.
I think it's because we went over the Tinto Talks, so this is pretty old information for us.
For us, yeah. So I'm just trying to think, are there new people actually going to be watching this?
I mean, if you've never heard about this game, this is pretty helpful, I would say. Like if you've only played EO4.
Yeah.
So Roger has just told us about the living world, dynamic
Let's see what
markets,
we've got
and how
now.
to build a prosperous nation. But all I heard was newly conquered territories. Let's head to the armory.
Now we're talking, right?
Music's going hard.
That brass section, though.
Oh, Eric!
Welcome to the armory.
Thank you. I've been given this map. I think
It
it's
was
finally
upside
time we
down. Did you guys see that? It was upside down.
Oh, yeah, they cut it. That's like
This is
a
a map of
continuity
30
error.
Surely they
But
could get
we're-
fucking. Oh.
Well, Leith, I would
It's
say
upside
this
down
is the
again.
most accurate and granular
They
map
didn't have the
ever
budget to
made for a
re-record.
strategy game.
So
I
going to
like the
extend through this
physical
beautiful map,
printout
how
of the game
important is
map, though. That's
historical
cool. I
accuracy
like
to
that.
something like
I would
this?
have that on my
I'm
wall,
glad you asked,
right?
because basically the map we're starting in 1337, I would say we made a huge effort in making it as accurate and granular as possible, which that obviously has its challenges. For example, in the warfare end of things, since now the diversity geographically wise is huge, so a
The
lot
map
of
is
things can
so big,
impact the
China has
outcome
more
of a
locations
war.
than EO4 when it
So
released.
basically what we are talking here is that, for example, let's say if you had a military campaign in something around the Caucasus area over here with Armenia and the potential rise of Ottomans and this part of the
It's
world,
upside down again.
what you would encounter is that is a very steep place with sort of
Clearly
very
the map is
thin
magic.
areas to go through, and that obviously you might feel it like it's an opportunity, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's a trap. It's a huge trap. By that, which I mean is that things like, let's say,
I love the imagery of them
mountains,
actually putting physical toy
strikes,
soldiers down
those
on the
definitely
map to
can
illustrate the war
define
system.
the
This is
outcome
definitely the
of a
best
battle
segment so
and
far
potentially
in
the
terms
We've
of
come to a
production,
circle.
So you have to be very
in terms
Made
of
of
like
with reference with that it's
representation
trap.
of what they're talking about, in terms of just the,
So
you know,
before we even
everything.
get to war, what kind of preparations do I need to make to supply my armies?
I would say, first of all, that going into a war is not easy at all. And yeah, you can be challenged in case they declare to you if you are not prepared. In case you are the one that wants to be the aggressor, I would say that the first thing to consider is building a war chest. That would be for starters. But also you have to be very careful with the production game loop of things. Because at starting date, basically you rely a lot into raising levies. And those levies come from population. And the thing is that this population is the one that's responsible for the outcome of your buildings. So what I'm saying here is that when you start a campaign in 1337 and you raise all your levies, you're making your buildings empty, part of them.
See. So you're telling me that if I raise all of my levies, get into a bad battle, and my army gets wiped out, I'm also wiping out all of my populations at home, so there's no one to work in the fields and all the buildings.
Yeah, that is correct.
Good to know.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about military
You
objectives,
can command the troops.
what are some of those military objectives? Can I tell an army to go siege? Can I tell an army to go engage other armies? How does that work?
Definitely. Like for starters, there would be one of the most used, I assume, is going to be the carpet siege, which basically is the one that allows you
Carpet
to
siege.
make a lot of your armies go straight towards the forts
They do have
of your
couple siege in
enemy,
EO4,
so you
but
don't
it's
need
very
to
bad because
be
all the armies
micromanaging
go to the
on that
same
regard.
location always.
And that obviously has its pros and its cons. Like, let's say you are too lightly on these tools and you use them a bit too much, maybe you are not defending your own country, because there is a military objective to defend your own lands or to call everyone back to defend. But if you are just using the tools in an aggressive way, it's probably gonna screw you up when it comes to the enemy.
So let's say, hypothetically, I am an Englishman.
Yes.
And I want to press my rightful claim on the throne of France. Can I use my superior navy and sailing ability?
Definitely, 100%. Like, navies in EU5 are meant to be, first of all, for movement of troops. That is a huge thing that helps the troops to move around, but also it supplies nearby armies. So that would be something to take into account. I would also add to this that if you, as an Englishman, start, let's say you go with another one, and you go here, and you start going deep into French territory, thanks to your navies, basically, what you would get is that a lot of the locations in France, when you occupy them, you can basically get their food.
So I can live off the land in France?
Yes.
Ideally.
That's the thing. And also, like, it goes both ways, because you get...
The thing about the warfare system, we already knew this from Dev Diaries, but they're adding objectives and stuff like Imperator. I think that's fine. It gives you the option of manually moving them or giving them an automated objective. That pleases both camps. It's what I argued for before with Vic 3. I'm fine with that.
First of all,
It did also say they improved the military objectives, but we will see if they're actually better than EU4, because in EU4 they're all bad.
So the different
I mean, in
factors
EU4
are
they were just kind of
size of the
introducing
army,
them for the first time in
professionalism of the
DLC
army,
and stuff,
the
but
general-
Yeah, that's
made it
true.
better.
They
the
were
first
also
time.
kind of half-assed and shoehorned in.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
would say supply.
No, the game wasn't originally designed with that, but this time it is.
Due to low food supply.
I think in Imperator Roma is better. That's where they really developed that system.
Yeah,
AI
Johan,
system.
Johan did it, now he made this.
starvation, then?
That your entire
Exactly,
army
yeah.
could die of starvation, which would be a very bad outcome, I would say so. And that means probably that the enemy will be super happy about it. So, but yeah, in order to supply your army, you would have to...
I've been made aware that the Steam
first of
page is
all,
up.
supply
There's some
input.
screenshots and little videos on that,
Get
but I'm
from
hesitant to
locations
leave this in
order
case it
to-
changes or
especially
something
if your
comes up.
campaign
But
is long and you are very deep
we can come to
into
that
the
after
enemy land,
the main
and
bit of
there's
this
some countries
presentation's
here
up.
that I would say
We'll
that
come
are
to it.
huge in terms of territory. Let's say you start as Morocco and you want to invade Castile. So the more you get into the specific territory, the more you might be punished unless you prepare fine with it.
So
But
if I'm Tunisian
yes,
and I want to invade Castile,
yes,
the deeper I go, the more I need to consider supply because I could be cut off.
yeah, that's pretty much it. But not only that, because if you don't make sure that your own country is safe in terms of occupations, then you could face another problem, which is that your enemy cuts down your supply. And that would mean that at the end, you wouldn't get that much needed food.
Let's say I have a weaker economy than my opponent. They're going to win. Am I able to secure quick tactical victories in order to beat my opponent? How can I take their resources away from them?
Well, that's a very good question, because there's a lot of opportunities. For once, the map we have in this game allows you to browse very carefully which enemy locations might be producing from the land the goods that are meant to supply their units. So I guess a smart choice, let's, for example, choose the Golden Horde. So Golden Horde relies heavily on horses, as we all know. So if you detect the places that have horses in it, and you are quick enough to occupy those, you're basically decreasing their chances to fill up their ranks once they have some losses. And that would benefit you a lot. That also would include other types of factors, like, let's say, if you are occupying a location that is meant to be a huge food supply for your enemy, then you are doing a very good strategy, because you are cutting them down as well. Actually, the magic of this granularity, that it allows you to, if that country is facing other wars, or if that country is just having an internal problem with the managing of their supplies, then you have an opportunity there. So yeah, I would say that if you are using a small country, you're playing a small country, you might have a chance to succeed.
So it's less about the size of the dog in the fight and more about how much food is in his food bowl.
yeah, that I would say that. Yes.
Nice.
There's many ways to punish your enemy. Another good option, obviously, but that even comes from EU 4 times, although in this case I would say it's harder, would be to occupy the capital. When you occupy the capital of the enemy, basically you are...
In Lambert's video, he said some countries don't even have a fort in their capital, so siege it down in 12 days.
But I have just one more question for you. How many princes are there in the HRE? Eric?
No comment.
So
He's out.
Eric left
He's
before
outside.
I could get all the answers that I wanted, but fortunately I know somewhere else that I can seek guidance.
He's finding God.
Oh. Pope Johan, who has just
In
been
honor-
crowned,
Yeah, here
is
you
here
go.
to tell us about the religion mechanics.
He's gonna get baptized.
Isn't this guy a Muslim or something? He's from Tunisia, right?
Yeah, he is from Tunisia. I'm pretty sure.
Forgive me, random church bench dev, for I have sinned.
I have a question about faiths.
About your faith?
No, about faiths in the game.
Oh, well, that I can help you with. We do have around 300 faiths in the game. There's, for example, Catholicism, there's Buddhism, there's Zoroastrianism, there's Shintoism, and plenty of faiths.
And do they have their own unique mechanics?
Yes, everyone has
Also,
own unique
there's no
set of
animism
mechanics that
anymore,
they
so
can
there's
play-
like
can play with.
400 faiths.
And
Just because of
assuming
animism
all these different pops have
being split up.
varieties of different faiths.
Yes, each pop will belong to a specific faith.
There's like 3
And
faiths
in
in
your
the main
country, there
game that
could be
matter
pops
that are
of
relevant at
many
the start,
diverse
but
faiths
297
that
different
you will have
animism
to interact
varieties.
with, and
Yes, they're very important.
they could be perfectly happy,
Very
but they
important.
could also be unhappy when their different faith could become a problem for you.
And
So
the
if
dev did not
There's
mention
a pop
Islam,
that
by
has
the
same
way.
faith as me, they're perfectly happy.
Not necessarily. They
Judaism,
can
yeah.
be perfectly
Judaism.
unhappy while sharing your own faith.
Great.
You will have a lot of.
It was like, yeah, there's a lot of
minorities
faiths in the game,
culture
for
and of
example,
faith in the
Catholicism,
countries, mostly. And
Orthodoxy.
what you can do about them
Orthodoxy,
is, well,
Protestantism
you can
later.
convert and assimilate them, or you could tolerate and accept those cultures and those faiths.
No, he said
You
Buddhism,
mentioned that
though.
I can tolerate them. Does that mean
Oh,
that
I
I
wanna see the
can
chat
have
now.
a fully tolerant society, tolerating all minorities?
the chat
if
of
you're
this?
particularly
Oh, God.
humanist, that's definitely a goal to strive towards.
So you're saying, what does that mean?
The chat
How
of
does one become humanist?
Armenia, flags,
Humanism
Turkey,
is a societal
France.
value in the game, which is opposed to spiritualism. And spiritualist countries would have it, for example, easier to convert and assimilate. And it's one of dozens of societal values that we have in the game. For example, you could be more innovative, or you could be more traditionalist, or you could focus your army, for example, on quantity or on quality, but you can't do both.
Can you give me an example of a major situation that would impact my societal values?
Well, there's one which will come fairly early on in the game, which is the Black Death, which will happen around like 10, 15 years after the game starts and will
They're gonna give
affect
Leif the Black Death
a
now?
majority of the globe.
What can I do to lessen the impact of the Black Death?
Now, to
Well,
explain
you
the
can
Black
try
Death, can you please
different
follow us
things.
into
You
this
can
room?
try to build hospitals, you can maybe establish a quarantine,
Down to the graveyard?
procure remedies, but, well, I hope you find solace in faith.
He opens the book and Ancient Curse comes out.
That must be from like the 1500s.
This is the same room again.
Oh, they're back. They're going back inside. Okay. Okay.
Our tour today is at an end, but it's just
Oh.
the start of our grandest journey yet. We'll find out whether your reign will be known as a glorious golden age or for carnage and chaos. Will you carve your name into history or be a mere footnote in someone else's chapter? In Europa Universalis V, anything is possible. History is yours to write. One final piece of advice. Be ambitious.
Is there a release date coming up? Do we have a release date here? Are they
I
going
don't
to
see.
cut to an
that
unscripted
up?
sofa session, or? I believe that's it, folks.
I think that's it.
Thank you, Elia, for becoming a Craftsman member earlier, and Never for 2 months now. Oh, that's it. It's over. Abruptly over.
They literally just talked basic stuff about the game and didn't show anything new.
Yeah,
Right.
strange. I think Lath, whoever this guy's name's Lath, he did a good job. The tone that I was looking for is Tom Scott. He's very Tom Scott in his in between bits, but no, I thought he did a good job. I thought it was, I don't know, it was strange, but I mean, that's to be expected, I suppose.
It was good. Good production value going into the castle.
Very much
Typical,
so.
but it was like a documentary production value mixed in with typical Paradox uncanniness and awkwardness. A perfect blend, I think, of that.
I'd rate it
Now-
3 out of 5 on Letterboxd.
Yeah. So I'm being told in the meantime that all the Paradox content creators are releasing their videos. This is when Lord Lambert's video should have been released. It's probably actually public now. So that all of them are coming out. They timed it. Someone in the chat summed it up. Said, all fart, no shit.
Great stuff.
Now we're gonna pull up the live stream for when the Pope's gonna walk out. We can get a live Spudgun reaction to the new Pope.
No, I think we're good. But I'm going to go to the Steam page. I'm going to locate that. So I'm going to go find that. Is the
One of the
has the
images on
Pope
the Steam
dropped?
page. One of the images on the Steam page is a tornado coming towards Japan. Goodbye, Japan.
Tornado.
Yeah, they do simulate weather in the game.
Yes, they do. They do have weather.
They also have natural disasters, and there's certain occasions where like earthquakes are much more usual to happen.
Lisbon might not be the coolest place.
Yeah, it does have earthquakes,
But
but
they're-
other than that, it's very good.
Okay, I found the Steam page on Steam. Let me get it on a browser in a second.
Hey, can I make a comment about the chat?
Which one?
Yes.
I'll tell you, the Spudgun chat was actually about the game, but the Paradox chat was there's a lot of flag spam, a lot of Z Patriot spam. I
There's
saw
some-
Make Athens Turkish again, and I even
That's
saw
the-
Turkish Femboy Unity.
I saw Deus Vault when we skipped to the religion bit a lot, of course.
There was some real quality comments where like it was like Greek saying there is no need for Turkish translation. It was a complete mess.
So we have the Steam page up that starts with that trailer, which was what came on before. A couple of people in the chat mentioned release dates, but I think it's fake news. I don't think we have one. It just says coming soon here. If there are release dates, tell me and then post it. Oh yeah, there's the tornado coming towards Japan. That's very ominous. No release date. No release date. Confirmed, no release date. Okay. Let's get this on the full screen. We got proper images.
Oh, it looks good.
And first, these are Steam page images, so these are not like Victoria 3 Dev Diary, oh, unfinished Paint MS Paint mashup. This is real shit. I mean, we're looking at a zoom in of Italy here. They are still doing the recent Paradox thing of you zoom in and it gives you more
Navy
terrain.
and
And
circle.
you zoom out and get the coloured political map. I think they're still going with that, which I don't really like that much, but whatever. Not the worst thing. Isopropyl, thank you. Sid Meier's rolling in his grave right now. Well, we just have to hope that Johan doesn't end up rolling in his grave as well. We hope to do him proud, and this game will be his legacy.
Interesting screenshots.
The zooming out here looks good. This is always the recent Paradox. Like zooming in, I don't like it because it's like goes to terrain and you can see these cities and stuff, but zooming out looks great. It looks good like that. And it's hard to gather some very instant thoughts on UI and stuff, but I do like... So on the top, the bar there, you've got all the pop-ups, right? Along here. This is like classic Paradox UI rather than the new situation log shit. Like, this is actual pop-ups on the screen. You've got a tech you can do, you know, a royal marriage you can do. There's a rebellion about to happen. It's proper pop-ups like previous Paradox games.
Yes.
It's also
Absolutely.
color-coded, which is much better if you want to quickly see something, because it's easier to see color than some random symbol that's small.
Good point. Good point. You notice that. Like, color coding pop-ups like that feels like something that would normally have to be done in a mod, but that's in the game here. I like that.
Also, on the right, the letters now also color-coded.
As in this bit with your armies, or down here. Oh, there are color banners next to the thing on the ledger there. This feels, it's much more like a classic Paradox UI, wouldn't you say? And you've got the bars at the top here with your currency. You've got stability, which looks more like a larger number than your like +3 or -3.
It's from 0 to 100 now.
Right.
Can't it go into the negatives?
I don't think so.
And we've got pops, your pops, and then your pop growth. Legitimacy, I can only imagine. Prestige. Diplo points? Question mark.
It's not Diplo points, it's Diplo capacity.
Diplo capacity. Then the one to the right of that.
Yeah, that's war exhaustion, I think.
Okay, and then the next one.
I have no idea. Maybe nobility? Oh yeah, it's nobility and burghers, I think.
Okay, so yeah, there's loads of, you know, gameplay videos and shit coming out. I don't want to go and watch any of them. Because if you want to go and watch them, you can watch them. You know, that's the advantage of all the content creators. They get it early, right? They can all go and get that. But if you want, unbiased analysis, I'm still here, just looking at the screenshots on Steam. If you want that. But next one, boom. This is the one with the Japanese hurricane about to wipe out civilization here as we know it.
If I could be pedantic, it's actually cyclone.
Yeah. At least he didn't bring out the Japanese word for it like some weeb. But this is just like more of the same. This one looks like it's on a terrain map mode. Like down here is lenses and terrain and map modes and stuff, but on none of them, it looks like a drop up menu, if you know what I mean. You click on that and it opens up a menu of different map modes, I think it looks like. Hopefully in one of the next screenshots it'll show that. But what's going on here? This looks like Amsterdam. Yeah, there's an army marching towards it. What's going on?
I find it interesting that the army is on the land, not on the water. Like, did they specifically make it so the army doesn't go on the water?
And is this an army in movement between one province and the next? Because the army is like a raid marching across. It's a bit strange.
Is that a drummer boy I see?
Yeah. But yeah, it's good. It's already better than certain other games. Actually seeing some proper units on the map representing where they are on the map at the time. And down here in the ledger you can see countries forming alliances with other ones. Diplomatic is perhaps the blue label. Yeah, diplomatic is blue because up here you've got a couple of alliance offers, I would say. Okay, what have we got here? We got the 100 Years' War. Is this a map for one war? Situations down at the bottom. Situations, there's that word.
Situations are no thing that can be completely scripted to be whatever, basically. There are just special things that happen in the game. Like old world diseases to spreading to the new world disease situation, for example, in 100 Years' Wars one.
Oh yeah, I remember a dev diary, giving a dev diary about that. So it's not like a situation log in other Paradox games. A situation is like a big event happening.
Yeah, it's like a mechanic in the game.
they're scripted, or could there be dynamic ones?
I think they said there are dynamic situations, but I'm not so sure. Most of them will be like big stuff that happened that really affects the game.
Yeah,
like
wars,
the Columbian Exchange.
The Wars of Religion thingy.
Yeah, they also won.
So,
what do we... EU4, EU4 came out in 2013, so that's a 12-year dev cycle. So does that mean that we reckon this is going to be finished developing in 2037? I mean, I wonder, is this going to be like the last game Johan ever makes? Like this is maybe why he's being so ambitious.
Well, we know it is because, well, of what sadly happened.
Oh.
Yeah, you left us.
Actually, that was poor taste. I apologize.
Yeah, please. You should have thought before you said that.
Yeah, that was just... It's early in the morning, so...
This will be his magnum opus.
Yeah. No, but on a realistic note, you're right. Like, Johan, he's proving to himself after the failure of Imperator. He's going back to try something taken from his old stuff that fans love. It's like it is a big magnum opus sort of thing from him. And it is, as they kept talking about, ambitious. So yeah, exactly. And it is a bit... Johan has made digs at Victoria 3 in forum posts during the development of this, just so that we're clear on that. Like, he did say something about, yes, you will actually be able to move units around on the map, winky face, and that sort of thing. I didn't quote that verbatim, but he posted things like that.
I don't know what HR would think about that, man.
No, I mean, making little jokes like that is fine, surely. It's not a problem. Even then, it's Johan.
He's the only one who makes games anymore. What are they going to do? Fire him?
This isn't just Johan's magnum opus. This is like, as I wrote in actually the description of this stream, this is Paradox's fucking last chance after 5 years of shit other than CK3, which is doing pretty well.
Ah, shit too.
You know what?
No.
I saw a comment that said something to the effect of widen the audience versus focus on the core aspects here in the chat. And I think that's very important. So a game like Baldur's Gate 3, right? I think if you talk to a lot of industry people or whatever, there's a certain crowd that said, oh, a single player narrative turn-based CRPG, that won't be super popular this day and age. But they focused on the core audience and the core features and the core nature of that genre, and they made it the best it can, and now it's gangbusters.
A fascinating point, because this right here is like absolute pure, old school, going back to roots, focusing on the core audience stuff. This isn't like trying to broaden to a wider audience as Paradox and many other companies have tried to do. This is like pure meat for the old guard and the core audience.
And I hope it reflects in its success commercially. I hope it's massively successful. And I think it will be. I mean, we probably have to dig into how it actually plays by watching some of these videos and getting our hands on it when it comes out. But from sort of just the philosophy that the game's been made in is just it's a really positive. It's very different. Well, it's also very much the same of what we used to be used to.
One thing that Lambert did talk about in his video is that there was a pretty steep learning curve. So for new people,
his video, which is public now, and you can go and watch live on his actual channel properly now. By the way, carry on. Sorry.
True. So for new people, it might be a bit daunting to get into, but I feel like it might actually be less daunting than some of the other games, because this game is based on realism and not random bullshit.
In terms of going back to the old guard and whether or not they're expanding to new audiences, Project Caesar, Tinto Talks, and all that is already massively popular in the Paradox community. Like, they get massive amounts of people just on the forums alone, and on like Reddit, and in the it's already massive interest in the game. It's going to do well. We already can see that from the reaction to it. And these views, the videos that are coming out about it now are just going to fucking go mental. They're going to get hundreds of thousands of views probably. So expanding to new audiences isn't necessary. This is an old school game, and it's doing really well from early signs.
A lot of the time when like games try to expand to new audiences, like paradoxically, they actually make the game just worse and for less audiences, because like the core features get watered down, so there's just less game there.
Yeah, and now we have another screenshot over Byzantium, which, by the way, the game is starting earlier than EU4. The start date is 1337, so there's a bit more of Byzantium, although actually it should be called Rome. I believe they changed it to being called Rome in the forum. There was a controversy about it being called Rome and them identifying as Romans, but neither here nor there. This is the government tab. And also, to talk about the UI again, you've got this bit on the left here with the different tabs. That is simple Paradox UI. It's like, if you think back to Victoria 3's UI, I mean, what the fuck is even going on in there? I can't even imagine it. This is just like classic. It's just government tab, economic tab, production tab, pops tab, diplomatic tab, war tab, colonization, navy tab, and puppets tab. I can already tell you what all of these are just by looking at it. Like, I already know the UI. It's simple as fuck. I like it.
Navy encircled.
One thing that looks a bit strange in the pictures on Steam is the capital symbols are all like very simple.
The what is, sorry?
The capital symbols. Like if you look on Constantinople or Thessaloniki, it's literally just a rectangle. Looks kind of out of place.
Right. Yeah. The circles and the little diamond. But I mean, isn't that just a nitpick?
Yeah,
Well,
it's very minor.
It's probably for those different, because you could have towns and cities, and they had different, what do you call it? Sort of sub-classifications for each location.
And thank you, Economistro, for a super chat a few minutes ago, €2, and then this €5 one. If they don't screw up the DLC policy too bad, I think they might expand the audience quite a lot. We haven't mentioned it so far, but I think it's actually a given that even though the game is looking positive, it's still going to be a Paradox DLC thing, and that's still going to be... But in a way, going back to the main controversy just being DLC is good for Paradox, because... Wait, let me just get rid of this timer info. We don't need that anymore. Like, Paradox's biggest controversy always used to be DLC, but then they came with Victoria 3, Cities Skylines, and all this other shit happened. Going back to DLC being their biggest controversy is a step up for them, if you know what I mean. Like, they want that to be the headline grabber about them again. They're praying for those days to come back because of how shit they're doing in every other regard now.
Even still, one of the Z's mentioned having cosmetics, each army for each country looking different. You see it in the screenshots as well. And so maybe, sort of a bit of a modified, more reasonable DLC policy, even if it is sort of a similar thing. Because I don't mind necessarily a bunch of DLC if they're meaty, they're worth the money. But when it's just sort of, one critical feature and then a whole bunch of slop, but you need it because it's got the critical feature. That's the sort of stuff that stings more.
One thing they did talk about in the Tinto Talks, when they showed the flavor, it was basically all historical, except like some minor things. So what's expected is that the DLC will probably be mostly alt history content, or content for like minor nations, because most major nations already have like similar content to EU4 or even more.
There's a simple super chat here, $10. Thank you very much. Simple question, if you want me to summarize, if it's back or if it's over. I'm saying for this one that it's back and I'm looking forward to it, with caveats, of course. DLC being one of them, cost and all that, and just seeing if it all comes together and works well, because all the different mechanics are quite complicated and stuff like that. It's going to be key to see if they can wrap it all up into one cohesive unit. Gameplay will tell us that. I don't know if can we trust all those Paradox YouTubers with their early access videos? Yeah, I don't know. Like, we always have concerns about whether early access people is really trustworthy, but we'll see. A lot of it will just have to be waiting and seeing. But I'm very positive overall. Yeah, he's trustworthy.
In this video, he did like multiple times say that he can say anything he wants.
Next screenshot. Okay. So one thing they did talk about in that video thing was the ages. Age of Discovery is popping off here. We can see a bit of colonization in the background there. Castile's got a bit of Cuba. England has got Florida and some of the southern continent there. Someone else is colonizing a bit of Hispaniola, the island at the bottom. What's going on here in this screenshot?
The flags of the army seem interesting. Or should I say ships?
Navy
Those
and
flags.
circled.
Oh, you're welcome, Charlie, and thank you for another super chat. Those flags on the armies don't correspond to the national flag. Those are like emblems, different from the flag. Have you know? I think that is a Castilian navy or army on the island.
Maybe it's a colony. Maybe it's the flag of the colony.
Well, good point.
Because we haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, colonial nations.
I mean, we do know that you can make them, but we haven't seen any of them yet. Maybe they all have custom flags.
Yeah,
and not the terrible flags from EO4.
This tab here is the geopolitics tab, which I think I named wrong earlier.
So,
go ahead.
Yeah, so it should be noted, conquistadors can be their own army-based nation, actually. And they're adding naval-based nations too, so.
Well, that's cool, because Pizarro and Cortez kind of acted off their own volition. Kind of went against the Spanish crown to do what they did, in a way. So to go and play as
they
them...
are simulating that kind of, but only the Iberians get it so far.
Playable pirates? Probably. Playable pirate nations.
People requested naval-based countries specifically for pirates.
That's surely going to be in this. Yeah.
They also showed a pirate cove building, which spawns in locations where you have very low control that are coastal. So maybe you can have like pirate nations spawn dynamically.
We've got another screenshot over here over Korea. The government tab there on the left, and within that sub-tab of values. This is straight out of EU3. This is EU3. Sliders. Government type sliders and all that. Centralization, decentralization.
They are actually showing a new value here. Synesized versus unsynesized. They didn't show that before.
Oh, that's flavoursome. That's unique for Asia. Synesize whether they're influenced by China or not. That's cool.
Over the game, you also get some new values, like individualism versus communalism, I think.
Yeah, that's probably... Yeah.
In one of the ages we unlock that.
EU3 sliders are back, boys. Top right numbers are monthly manpower and sailors. But there's a pop system. Why would there be a sailors and manpower pool? I mean, they're drawn from the pops, I guess, but... They are the... I guess it does work, even with a pop system.
Yeah, your capacity to train them, I suppose.
The numbers are very low, though.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, no, at the start of the game, that would make sense that the numbers are so low, because you wouldn't have many professionals.
Yeah, this is 22nd October 1337. Thank you, Pope Pan, for the 13 months. Next screenshot is an event pop-up. Is it just me, or the recent Paradox games? This is just like a classic event pop-up thing. It's like something you'd expect in EU3 or something.
Also, on events, they now show which option is historical with the little book icon.
Ah, I did hear about that. That's cool.
Also, I realized on the Korea slide, there are way more international organizations than any of the other countries, which they didn't show before. There's like 6 different Asian ones.
Where are those, and how can you tell?
In the middle of the bottom middle, it says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Right.
I mean, I'm pretty sure they're international organizations. I don't know what else they would be.
Yeah. No, they are.
So this one is also hovering over the city of Constantinople within the Byzantine Empire. Like that is your UI for a city. That's not a province, that is just one city, which is a location within a province, right?
Yes.
I don't know if the UI on that, it's like, I don't know if maybe it'll get better when I understand what's going on more. There's 3 different tabs within it: infrastructure, military, and demography, and it's on the demography one, I guess. 144k points.
Yeah, I'd say it's the first one that looks like it could use a little bit more love.
It's got that Victoria 2 effect where there's an overload of stuff on the tab, but when you know what it is, it'll be fine.
Yeah.
Like, it's an overload since we haven't played the game and we don't know it. But, you know, what it's like the Victoria 2 effect. Like, on the one hand, it looks clunky and messy, but on the other hand, when you do know it, you can actually access all that on 1 or 2 clicks. It'll be fine.
I just realized in the top left it shows your character.
Aha.
It's over.
I'm not gonna lie. The only major disappointment I experienced reading the Tinto Talks was the one on the 3D models.
Let's go back through them. This is your Korean guy. This is your English guy. There's your Byzantine guy again, same guy. There's your French guy.
The portrait changed on the French guy. Maybe the country link is a law, I don't know.
There's different outlines around them, and then the flag next to them. This is just the county of Holland. Ashikaga Shogunate, and there's your Japanese guy. Yeah, so the 3D artwork on the characters, perhaps leaving a lot to be desired. Certainly a step down from CK3, like in terms of how they look. But CK3 is a game based around them and those characters. They're not the be-all and end-all in this game.
Well, one thing they did add from CK3 though, which I like, is like proper dynasties. So you have relatives. Because in EO4, the system is complete bullshit. So that's already a major improvement.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
I noticed that there's a dynasty map mode, which is in EU4, I believe. But
yeah.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
It helps with the immersion, actually. And that's actually something I didn't like specifically about Victoria 2.
Here is a zoomed out political map mode, which is frankly where all Paradox UIs are at their best, and this looks good. Holy Roman, you got the Holy Roman Empire here. This screenshot is designed to show off how many different things are in the Holy Roman Empire. 329 members. I mean, how many actual countries are there in the HRE and EU4 base game?
I think like 50 or something.
Yeah.
So this is way more.
My processor is already crying in anticipation of playing this. But no, it's great. I'm happy.
Day 1 mod to remove 90% of provinces.
They've added the Duchy of Poop and Fart in population 5.
One thing that's also in the game is if a location has less than 1,000 people, it becomes uncolonized. So you can actually completely remove another country if you just kill literally everyone.
Wipe them off the map, that's pretty crazy.
And because armies consume food, you can actually just build a ginormous army, move them somewhere, and just eat all the food. And the local people can't get any.
So, in terms of what menu this is on here, it's on a menu entitled the Holy Roman Empire. Where's that coming from? This is like
it's an international organization.
Ah, yeah. So one of these, this one here. That's the Catholicism.
The middle one's the Catholic Church. Yeah.
That one could be some order of something.
Also, I don't know what the numbers on them mean. Like 3, 4, 5. The Korea one had 1 through 6. But are you hiding 2 of them? Like, I don't know.
Hotkeys.
Maybe it's like decisions to do, like interactions that are possible.
True.
Colony of Magadan. We're on the Kingdom of Goreo again. We've advanced quite far into the game this time. This screenshot's from 1471. Loads of international organizations, kind of the same ones that were originally there. This one's colonizing. This Korea is colonizing Siberia from this. And you can see that they have colonial nations right there. And this is the decision for creating one.
The game in the mechanics also actually has a reason to create colonial nations because of how control spreads. It spreads from the capital, so if you make a colonial nation somewhere very far away, they actually makes it so you have way more control there because the capital of the colonial nation is there.
Yeah.
So they actually incentivize you to make a bunch of colonial nations.
That happened in EU4 anyway. I mean,
In EU4, it was always automatic, and they were always the same nations, which was kind of bad.
Yeah.
But here it's like all dynamic, which makes the game way more interesting.
Yeah, I agree completely. Next we have some... This is the society. I initially identified this as the pop tab, but it's the society, which does include that. First tab is culture. And then we have the pie chart. Culture is in the crown of Castile. Mostly Castilian.
What you can also see with the cultures is acceptance isn't yes or no. It's like primary, accepted, tolerated, non-accepted.
Cool.
Also, they're not showing it here, but a culture can actually be in multiple culture groups, so you don't have to like decide anymore if Welsh is Celtic or British.
Brilliant stuff. So if there was...
well, that's something... Sorry, you go ahead, Spud.
Okay, I will go ahead, but you can go after me. So if there was an authentic sequel being made to Victoria 2 that was just iterating on top of it, this is exactly where you would go with it. Instead of there being just primary culture, accepted culture, you would change it a bit so there were different tiers of it, and you could add more dynamic and fluidity to it. Like that would be the perfect step up, right? And that's what they're doing here.
Also, you can see that cultures can like or hate each other, and it's also not like both sides have to like or hate each other. For example, Austro-Leonese is kindred to you, but Basque is only neutral.
But you tolerate them. All right. Now you go ahead, Piechucker.
One thing I was going to add was it's interesting hearing that cultures can be in multiple culture groups, because there was a real philosophy change in EU4 sort of quite deep into the dev cycle, because previously, I don't know if I'm 100% right, but early on in EU4, it was all based on actual language groups, like Finnish was part of the Estonian group, the Finno-Ugaric group, and Breton was part of the Welsh, the Celtic group, and then they changed it to be sort of very much geographic based instead of actually cultural and linguistically based. And so I'm hearing that you can be part, they're sort of doing both, where it's geographic and cultural, is interesting, because I think that was a change that was I don't know, I guess it was a gameplay change, but it wasn't very accurate or immersive or authentic to sort of the realities.
The gameplay effects on that is that in EU4, the AI will try to conquer provinces of their own culture. So, for example, Turkish is in the Levant group with Arabic, which makes absolutely no sense.
Exactly.
But it's so the Ottoman Empire.
About,
But it's so the Ottoman Empire conquers all that stuff. And here they completely change it. Also, cultures have a language. A country can also have a language, but you can have a different liturgical language, and you can also have a different lingua franca and a different diplomatic language.
And a market language too.
Oh, a market language as well. Like they have everything.
Oh, wow. Also, I was going to mention this about this screenshot. This is like the official Steam page, and this screenshot is showing taskbar.
Yeah, I didn't even notice that.
Discord's open, PR, some Adobe program is open there. Steam, you know. I love it. This show, to be honest, I trust this screenshot having taskbar open to be an indicator of it being a better game than if it was all completely sanitized and professional. I trust this more.
Maybe they did this because it shows the little icon you have on your desktop before EU4.
Yeah, it's a good icon that's faithful to the franchise. It's got that compass sort of thing. Works for me. That's good. If you refresh, they took this screenshot off the page. Wow. Just as we were saying, we're witnessing... I'm going to leave this open as long as I can. You know, we got to savor this. Don't let this go. This is history. They're revealing the Pope. Well, good.
Hopefully it's Pizza Walla.
I wonder who it is. Who's it going to be? Other than Johan. Pope Johan.
They're going to have two popes now, Johan and another guy.
I mean,
religion has similar.
No, go on.
So I was gonna say, when it comes to culture, religion has similar features too, where like different religions will have different relations with each other, like neutral, friendly, not friendly, so on and so forth.
There, I'll move the image to another tab to keep it. Oh, now we've got something. We have got a trade screen on the map here. Ooh.
This screen actually looks a bit different from the one they showed before, and I like this one much more. Like the markets, they used to extend all the way out to the sea, which made the map look pretty confusing.
So I'd love to see the lines, eh?
What's going on here?
I guess the lines are like, in Hoi 4 you have supply routes. I guess this is like your trade routes, and they actually go over the map.
Victoria 3 is on suicide watch from this screenshot. They tried to do trade systems and shit, and paths along sea routes. But look at this.
One very good UI thing they also did is, if you look on the left, there's like little money icons for all the different trade goods. And depending on how much they cost, the money icon actually changes.
Uh-huh.
It's a very minor thing, but it's very nice.
Why are people in the chat still talking negatively about the war system and that it's going to be like Victoria 3? It's not. What are you on about? It's like there are fucking units on the map. You can micro them. They are stacks. It's a normal... Who's the Pope, guys? People are caring more about that than... Who is it?
I think they're announcing it now.
Yeah. Pope Johan.
I swear this is true, but I remember reading or like watching the trade thing, and like the trade goods go over the map. Like you can see their journey through the locations or whatever.
Gosh. Right.
They do have that in EU4, but that's not dynamic or anything.
Oh,
and it's actually pretty annoying because sometimes you accidentally click on the tiny wagon and open the trade menu instead of a province.
Oh, what's the next screenshot I opened? Oh, it's units on a map. It's toy soldiers. Pope. We're getting conflicting popes. We've got anti-popes being set up in my chat right now. One person said Benedict the 12th. One person said Leo the 4th. Like those are the two anti-popes. What's going on? The BBC News is saying new pope to appear on the balcony with a picture of some happy nuns. Yeah, things are happening. Is it going to be the pizza pope or not? Anyway. This could be more of like an entire tribal country rather than an actual just a stacked unit on the map. This is Chieftain Opamiko of the Warrior of Okiji. This is some real
There's one new thing here. A Mary Lowborn. They didn't show that before.
Oh.
Yeah, they also have Banish, Abdicate, Pardon, Arrange Marriage. So many things.
What UI bit are we on here? What tab are we on? Character tab, right? Yeah, this is the
it says character breakdown, so probably.
So this is when you click on the icon in the top left.
I don't know if I like that, because usually in games you just move your mouse to the top left to click on your country, but now it clicks on your fucking character, which might be much less useful.
People are saying it's a US Pope, an American Pope. But that's neither here nor there. Look, everyone's going to know about the Pope. That's breaking. But this stream, people are watching it to learn about this. So the next screenshot is Egypt. We have
American Pope and Leo the 14th. There you go. That's the official word. Now we can move on.
Okay, it's Leo the 14th, and he's American.
It's over.
So there you go. That wasn't one of the front runners, though, was it? That
Egypt
wasn't
actually has some slaves.
Anyway, back to slavery. So what are the slaves here?
They actually have a ton of slaves. 33% of the population is slaves.
How can you instantly tell that from this UI? Where is that?
You're on Egypt, right? There's the demographics, and then you have slaves with like a grey color, and it says the number of people, and it also says the percentage of your total population.
Ah, yeah, that's that little list there. That there is a pie chart for that there, right? But it's hard to see.
Yeah, they should have made the pie chart a bit bigger. No reason to have it small.
Yeah.
Also, the population pyramid in the pie chart is a bit confusing to look at.
Yeah, now that I see it, now that I'm breaking it down, I can see, yeah, slaves, 182,000, 31% of the pops. Now I can see it. And that's that bit of the pie chart there. The bigger bit of the pie chart, which is 64%, is the green bit, which is peasants. Okay, I get it now. Took me a bit, it wasn't exactly intuitive, but I get it now.
The game actually has very in-depth slavery mechanics. Like, there's multiple ways to get slaveries, and slaves are both a good and a person that's tied to that good.
Yeah, there was a whole dev diary on slavery.
I'm glad they didn't shy away from that, actually.
That's true.
Yeah, so if I play a West African nation, I'm just gonna go to war with everyone. Take their POWs as slaves.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's going to be good for gameplay to be able to do this. And like, if you went to war with someone and you take some of their pops as slaves, that's going to be huge. Like, you don't conquer any of their land, but you take like 10,000 of their pops to be your slaves. Imagine.
They're also representing different like kinds of slavery. Like, slavery in Africa was different than in India, for example.
Yeah. Cool stuff.
So, with the Mamluks, weren't the soldiers slaves?
Yeah, Janissaries too.
That might be a slavery.
I think they did say something about that, but I can't remember the specifics.
Someone in the chat in all caps has said that there will be an option to turn off the zoom map mode change. Thumbs up on that, I'm glad. That'll be the first thing I do when I open this game, actually. Black Death happening here in 1347, 10 years into the game on Hungary. And this is in your geopolitics diseases tab. There's a whole tab for it. There's a whole tab for diseases. This is going to suck in terms of actually playing against it. It's going to be horrible.
There are like hospital buildings which make diseases less bad.
It's just going to be the meta to build as many of them as you can in the first 10
Probably.
years to get ready for the
They
Black
also
Death.
give you pop growth, I think.
Well, there's your meta.
So what you're probably gonna be doing is build hospitals, then build, I think it was libraries that give you maximum literacy.
All right. We're going to go through these screenshots and then have some closing thoughts, and we are going to wrap this up soon, by the way. Do need to go soon. We're not going to do a long ramble with Piechucker, sadly.
Well, we've got to find a reason to stream more anyway.
Yeah. There will be more EU5 stuff to... well, the game's actually coming out because it's in such a finished state. But anyway, so there's your diseases. Now we have the Kingdom of Majapahit. Queen Teribahuana Wajarasa. What's the idea behind this screenshot? What's going on?
Navy and circle.
It's a personal character screen. It's her. It's a political map mod.
Maybe they're showing modern father. But there's nothing really new here, except that Majapahit is in a, like, I think Hindu international organization.
Okay. Thank you, Swiv. You're going to become an EU5 YouTuber? Well, I don't know. I'm going to play the game, but obviously I'm always going to stick to Vic 2. I'm going to play this, obviously, when it comes out. Coming out next month, confirmed. Can I get a source before we even believe it? Any release date must be confirmed with a source. And we got a battle here. We got a battle screen on the side. You can see the flanks and stuff there. That's nice.
You can also, in the battle screen, see the terrain and weather.
Some modifiers on each side. Fort level. It's a battle between Morocco and Aragon.
Also, it shows the war score. Like, is that the war score you're gonna gain from the battle?
That is interesting.
Possibly.
In the top left, it also shows the malaria icon.
Also, is this specifically like a siege, or is this any battle? Because they've got
Looks like a normal battle.
They've got fort level and things here, although that could relate to.
Maybe the fort level is for defending. Because
that's what I was thinking.
If it could be a battle taking place on a province with a fort in it. Also, there is a roll there, 1 to 2. King Hug. It's King Hug.
He's not the king of the country this guy is playing, no?
Yeah, there's another little flag there. It looks like the Galician flag or something. I don't know. White and light blue? I don't know. Very small. Too small. Okay, so there's your bat. That's the last screenshot.
In the last screenshot on the bottom right, it shows 5 countries have gone bankrupt.
Rough. So if you sign up, you can get in-game icons and colosseums. Whatever.
You hate to see it.
System requirements. Not all of it is confirmed.
Only 64-bit. It's over.
Yeah, in fact, the system requirements are not done at all. They have no idea. That's not a good sign for performance bros yet.
No, it isn't.
And only 64-bit is also not a good sign for people with old computers wanting to play this.
Well,
yeah, I mean, come on.
I mean,
reasonable.
At a certain point, you've got to go, well, we are in the year of our Lord 2025.
Yeah, that is true.
We are
I think only like
first...
2% of people have a Windows computer with 42-bit.
The first year of the reign of Pope Leo IV, or whatever it is. I mean, come on.
All right, well, what do we all think?
That's nice. I mean, to be honest, going through that whole stream, there isn't actually that much new out of all this that we already didn't know, other than the fact they've officially announced the game and did a cinematic and got all the content creators in on it.
Yeah, I think the cinematic in of itself was really cool. I think that the overall production value of the announcement show was really, really good, and I think Lath did a good job. I think that the only sort of notable thing that was poor was probably the scripting, and I mean, honestly, it could have been a third the length, and they could have covered pretty much the exact same ground.
Yeah, they could have shortened it down, made it short and snappy.
Mm.
The war one where they had actual little men, toy soldiers on the map, was the best bit. That was good.
It definitely still had that classic Paradox awkwardness.
Yeah. Good to see Johan there. Like he seemed genuinely enthusiastic and happy, so that was nice. But I guess if you want to go and get your gameplay and all that, go to the content creators who got early access, who have their deals with Paradox. I don't have that. I'm independent. I can say exactly what I want. So, yeah. No jokes, no Philomena Conk. We should make a Philomena Conk version of that instead.
Yeah, there's definitely things that you could clip from that show for sure.
Well, my thoughts is that I'm pretty hyped about EU5. I've been so for multiple months. I ever since I think the control and trade Tinto Talk, like everything they basically done well. I think the video was nice. Good cinematography. I think it may be fitting that you had a Johan Martin Scorsese Photoshop over in your thumbnails, but
Navy
yeah. So I think it's
circled.
Thank you, Never. You should check out the CK27 early since trailers for comparison. They're hilarious. Well, we're winding down the stream and about to end. I'm not sorry, I won't check something else out, but thank you. And thank you everyone for the super chats and memberships throughout the stream. It was a great success. Their videos are apparently not sponsored, at least, yeah, but they have the early access to a game. Like, that's a big deal. They're signing NDAs and stuff. But yeah, this I'm excited. Zorange, do you have final thoughts you want to give?
I don't know. I'm also excited. Like the first things of the game I saw, I already thought looked very good, especially compared to EU4, which I played a ton. So yeah, I don't know how they could fuck this one up.
Yeah, and I'm coming from this from the perspective of someone who doesn't like EU4, by the way.
I played it a bunch. I also don't like it.
Fair enough. I mean, I have played it a bunch as well, but not anymore. I played it and found out I didn't like it. But yeah, the main content creators coming into it with the videos and stuff are the EU4 content creators. You had Habibi, Ludi, Lambert, Laith, etc. Redhawk, Zelag, the unpronounceable Polish name.
Zlevik?
Yeah. So, and it's interesting because this game is such a divergence from EU4. It's completely different. It's adding a Vic2 pop system, but they're bringing in the EU4 content creators, and they all seem to be positive about it. That wasn't the case with Victoria 2 and 3. The one Victoria 2 content creator that existed wasn't happy about it. Anyway. Yeah, that was it. I had a great time. That was a very fun stream, and it was good to cover some Paradox stuff.
Absolutely. I think it would have been nice. I think if you were going to ask for something, it would have been nice to see, like we already mentioned, some fresh stuff, something a bit new, or at least some sort of catastrophic social awkwardness. But I guess we sort of got middle of the road. Nothing too bad, nothing too new.
There was nothing in their presentation for a die-hard person who's been hyped and expecting and reading Tinto stuff. There was nothing new. They could have maybe mixed it up a bit, showed something new, and also done some introductory stuff for newer people. It was well on the side of, well, what is this for someone who's never heard of Tinto Talks?
Yeah, it was a strange sort of target audience.
But it's all good. Thank you very much to our two Z-related guests who came on at rather short notice to provide some great background, who have read all the Tinto Talks. It was actually vital to have you. It was so interesting hearing your knowledge. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, lads.
No
and
problem.
You can hear from the media training that
You're welcome.
This is something they've never done. Coming on a stream talking. So
did well.
Good experience being on a stream of a niche internet personality.
That's me. Those other that Laith doing the fucking professional documentary style thing. That's no niche. That guy could be a real documentary maker. But anyway, thank you so much to you three, and so the two guests, of course, my co-host Piechucker, who makes these streams amazing. I do.
Thank you very much. No, I had a great time, and we got a really good showing. Exciting and also strange I don't want to go on about it or anything or be annoying, but it is funny that they announced EU5 and then the Pope selected. That's such a strange sort of I don't know. I guess we'll remember one or the other because of the other. Where were you? Where were you when EU5 was announced?
Where were you when the Pope was announced? I was announcing EU5.
I was watching Spud's stream. Yeah,
It's Providence.
An American Pope.
Exactly.
It's going to be weird hearing a Pope speaking English, like as an American, and stuff like that. Normally you'd expect them to be speaking Latin and Italian and all that. But it'd be like, hey guys, I'm the Pope. Yo, what's up? Coming here from Kentucky.
Excuse me, Shimmy
Chicago.
From Chicago.
He's from Chicago, baby.
But yeah, thank you to you three guys. I'll see you all sometime later. I'll see you on some
right,
future
cheers,
EU5
fellas.
stuff. We can have an extra.
And cheers, chat. Yeah, more streams soon. Sounds good. All right, bedtime for me. 5:30 in the morning. All right.
All right. Did you get up for this or stay up for this? Or
I got up. Dragged myself out of bed. But no, I had a great time. And farewell.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
And now I will say bye to you, chat, and just thank you again for your great engagement. You're like, if you can, the Paradox chat is a bad example, right? Because they're all just spamming flags and shit. But this chat is a genuine pleasure. You're all saying good, funny stuff and asking good questions. It's a pleasure to have you for a stream like this. And thank you particularly to those who supported through super chats and memberships. Those are greatly appreciated. It was a joy. And I will see you on Sunday for Napoleon's Legacy Session 3 as Ireland, because I'm streaming Victoria 2 multiplayer live on Sunday again. Another Lord's Day. Breaking the Sabbath by streaming and working. So there you go. A great way to break in the new Pope, by working on a Sunday. Yeah. So yeah, again, thanks so much, and I'm looking forward to continuing my Victoria 2 content, but also looking at some EU5 stuff on the side. Now you can go and watch your other content creators who have actual gameplay. Bye everyone.